Hey friends, what's up? What if Naruto returns to Konoha after running away from Fem Sasuke movie? Before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video with your friends. Now, without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. The rain poured down on the terrain with a vengeance, sharp and merciless as it made contact to the ground. It wasn't near a storm, more of silent attack from the clouds above. The rain held no potential to be as deadly as it would have on a stormy atmosphere. No, there was a storm, but not from the sky. The motion, it is an aspect and characteristic that very well defines living beings. It holds feeling to life and its hardships, as well as the ability to face the challenges with uncertainty and worry. Life is never easy when feelings are involved. Humanity and animals are no different when it comes to feelings, except for the fact that humans have a better grasp of them. They understand and run into depth where animals would just stick to basic primal instincts given to them by Mother Nature. Relationships are the forefront of some of the most welcoming feelings in existence, yet there are always the feelings that are dreaded and fought very hard to never be introduced. Love, such a simple term that hold vast meaning, so many ways to love, but in the end they all lead to the same concept, companionship. Humanity can never be left to its own devices. Solitude may be a temporal escape from the harsh realities of life, but that's just what it is, temporal. Humans cannot live without each other. The urge to seek acknowledgement and understanding will always outweigh the urge to be alone. The mind works in different ways, but human traditions do not change. Since the beginning of time, social endeavors had always been a part of human nature that will never change. To cut oneself from all is to cut oneself from sanity. It is all an unwritten law that can never be broken. Love is an easy feeling to withhold, but so is hate. Hate can only be driven by betrayal, misunderstanding, pride, and stubbornness. It is not uncommon to think of love and hate as the same thing, because, in a way, it is true. Love can only be created by ambition, a need to be accepted and understood, and a connection, so can hate. These two emotions differ greatly from each other as well. Love is kind, controlled and blatantly thrust upon someone. However, hate is vicious. It eats away at one's soul until only a shell is left its wake. It bears no distinct value, only malice. Naruto lived a hell of a life. He had sought never to entertain thoughts from his past circumstances, but they always came. He grew up in an orphanage, with no love and little encouragement. His caretakers despised his very existence, making sure he never enjoyed his stay at that place, treating him as if he was an unwanted animal that was forced into their care. Like they were the victims of a scandalous betrayal, he never understood any of it. He had run away when it became abundantly clear that he was not welcomed. He had lived in the streets of Konoha for Kami. He can't even remember how long. He isn't even sure he wanted to. The village hated him. They always made it known with their attacks, assaults, whatever it may be called. They tortured him, beat him to an inch of his life. Peeled his skin only to pour poisons on the exposed flesh, cut him anywhere they could, and somehow he would survive it all. He felt sick to his stomach. Even after everything they did to make his life in that village pure hell, he never resulted to hating them. No, as ludicrous as it sounded, their treatment only made him want to prove himself more, to be accepted among them, to have a connection with them that held no mirth, to understand them, to understand why they hated him so much. He would have deemed himself insane from such thoughts if it were not for Sarutobi supporting his beliefs. He lived a life of solitude until he was enrolled into the academy, meeting so many people. Although no one ever treated him seriously, he was still content with what he had. They were not his friends, but at least they acknowledged his presence without attacking. To him, that meant everything. He had gotten to know a lot of people, one of them being the Uchiha prodigy, Sasuke Uchiha, the last Uchiha, the chosen one, Konoha's hero. He was known by many things, but all Naruto knew him by was team. He was a team, an egotistical, social-grabbing, attention-seeking team, and for the first time in his life, Naruto found himself hating someone with a passion. It didn't make any sense. The villagers did far worse than Sasuke ever could, but he chose to hate the Uchiha anyway. Maybe he really had gone insane. They were rivals, although Sasuke didn't see it fit to categorize them as such. They were rivals with a dislike for the other. He was the loud-mouthed, obnoxious, knucklehead who people occasionally dismissed, while Sasuke was the silent, brooding Uchiha prick that got all the attention. Was there even any irony in that? He hated the Uchiha. He hated him with a passion because of his attitude towards people, including himself. The Uchiha always thought of himself so highly, like everyone was beneath him, like he could do whatever he wanted. That alone was more than justification for his anger towards that team. Then they were put in the same team, and Naruto felt like laughing at the irony of it all. The only reason he was so excited was because he was in the same team as Sakura. It was a bittersweet predicament. He actually thought that he could beat the Uchiha now, that he could show how strong he was to everyone, gaining Sakura's love in the long run. It never worked out that way. Sasuke beat him every which way possible. He was better than him, faster, stronger, and he had Sakura wrapped around his finger, even if he never made any attempt to get to know the girl. He was living up to his prodigy status, and Naruto was being left in the dust. It was such a frustrating period. It was a long and rough road, but they finally conceded to tolerate each other, and with that came trust, followed by partnership. They were Team 7, all of them, every single individual, united to fight together and support each other. Where did it all go wrong? Sasuke seemed fine in that period. He was still a cocky bastard, sure, but he was also a friend and a teammate you could count on. Naruto trusted him with his own life. The curse mark incident always escaped him, mainly because he was unconscious at the time, but it was still clear that Sasuke seemed somewhat off in the Chunin exams. Something happened to his comrade, but it didn't seem too significant to warrant worry, so it was safe to say that Naruto easily brushed it off as a passing thought. But when Sasuke started to show visible hostility towards not only him but Sakura as well, that's when he drew the line. Sasuke had changed over time, and Naruto honestly thought it was for the better. Oh, how he wished that was the case. It turned out that Sasuke's attitude had hit a malicious streak. Naruto didn't know what prompted the change in behavior, but it happened anyway. Sasuke had become dangerous, and Naruto was angry at his blatant act of disrespect toward Sakura and himself. It almost ended with them shoving a Rasengan and Chidori at each other. It was only luck that Kakashi was there to intervene. It could have ended much worse. Not long after that, Sasuke left Konoha and Naruto could not hold in his shock when he heard that, no matter what had happened between them, he always thought of Sasuke as a brother. They both grew up alone, Naruto more so. Although Sasuke had a family in the beginning, he still lost them quite early in his childhood. Naruto never had a family to begin with. So in a way they could relate to each other. To find out that Sasuke had left Konoha stung greatly. It took so long to find Sasuke again, and when he did, he finally saw some semblance of the person Sasuke was becoming, and to be honest, he was scared of losing his friend, his brother in arms. He was afraid for Sasuke. He had vowed to bring him back, even going as far as to declare breaking every single bone in Sasuke's body to do so. It didn't take long for their little confrontation to turn physical, with punches and kicks for emphasis. It had escalated so greatly that he had to draw into the fox's chakra, while Sasuke used that cursed seal for his own power. The grotesque wings and the psychotic face only made Naruto more resolute in saving his friend from making a huge mistake. So is this it? After everything we've been through, did we mean nothing to you? Naruto snarled as his slit blood-red eyes glared at Sasuke. I will admit, at some point I did consider you my friend, the winged figure said almost thoughtfully. So why are you doing this? Naruto screeched in fury. Simple dope, I am an avenger. My purpose is to kill my brother and avenge my clan. To do that I need power. You won't understand, Sasuke said sharply, as if it suddenly registered to him who he was talking to. You don't have to do this alone. We can help you through this. Don't throw away everything for stupid power. Naruto pleaded earnestly. You have no idea what I've been through. Don't even think you can relate to me, Sasuke sneered in disdain. I can relate. I grew up alone, just like you. Naruto screamed pointedly. At least I had a family, you had nothing from the start. Ouch, even Sasuke could admit, albeit stubbornly, that it was a harsh thing to say. You're right, I grew up alone, but that changed. I made comrades who I'd risk my life for, including you. Don't for one second think I'm going to go easy on you. I will bring you back to Konoha or die trying, he whispered the last part. It won't end well for you dope, I'm not going to hold back either, Sasuke said, and then licked his lips. He was going to enjoy killing this nuisance. Ah. Naruto screamed as he charged at Sasuke at incredible speeds, fist ready to knock out the Uchiha. Sasuke easily dodged all the fists that were aimed at him. Using Naruto's rage to his advantage, he continued with his verbal assault. I thought of you as a friend before, but after some time I realized you weren't worthy of such a rank. You don't deserve friends, that's why you're alone, Sasuke said mirthlessly, but the sick glee was still prominent. Ah. Naruto kept trying to punch or kick Sasuke, his anger dampening his sense of logic. Sasuke saw an opening and then sent a powerful hook straight to Naruto's face. Said boy flew and hit the ground hard. It did nothing to deter Naruto as he stood quickly and gathered his bearings. Sasuke saw the change in demeanor and became more alert instantly. Naruto looked much calmer, and that was not going to make this battle easy. Naruto calmed himself as much as possible as the fox's chakra burned his skin. His anger was not helping him in this situation, and now he was more prepared. He quickly disappeared. Sasuke had less than a second to block the punch that suddenly came within an inch of his face. However, it had left his abdomen wide open, and he realized, too late, that his face wasn't the intended target. Naruto shot his foot and kicked Sasuke in the stomach, running his knee as far as he could. When the Uchiha began to convulse in pain, Naruto used that opportunity to send a fury of fists at the Uchiha's face. Sasuke flew to the rocks near the waterfall and crashed into them. The Valley of the End was starting to slowly look like a miniature war zone. Sasuke shot to the sky and dove straight at Naruto with his arms outstretched. A loud explosion resonated as Sasuke made impact, creating a large cloud of dust. When the dust cleared, Sasuke was standing on a crater. Naruto was nowhere in sight. Just as suddenly Naruto appeared behind the Uchiha and punched his skull, sending Sasuke skidding on the ground until he crashed into the waterfall itself. Sasuke had enough of this, he needed to get to Orochimaru, and Naruto was only delaying the inevitable. He looked at his former comrade and rival. After all that, after everything, you still think him going to go back with you? The answer was obvious, but Sasuke just needed to goad the idiot into a heroic rant while he prepared his finishing blow. Yeah, we're not going to lose you. I will not let you ruin your life, you freaking team. Naruto spat and then saw that Sasuke was beginning to perform something. That's when he realized that this battle had stemmed on for far too long. It was time to finish this. He quickly made a Kage Bunshin that helped him to create a Rasengan with added effect thanks to the fox's chakra. Sasuke prepared his Chidori. He snorted when he saw Naruto summon a shadow clone for his own attack. What a loser. Naruto made sure that he put everything he had into this Rasengan. This was a do-or-die situation, and Naruto knew that if he held back even just a little bit, then the retrieval mission would all be in vain. A lot was riding on this, so many of his friends were putting their lives on the line to make sure that Sasuke's betrayal to the Leaf would not have repercussions in the near future. He was not going to fail them, he couldn't afford to fail. Sasuke's Chidori was almost at full strength, and he stared at Naruto with contempt. He was not going to hold anything back. If the dope died, then it would be his own fault. Sasuke felt a slight amount of regret for what he was about to do, but that feeling quickly subsided when he convinced himself that he had no other choice but to do this. Naruto would not let him leave on his own. He had no choice but to kill him or risk going back to a village that most certainly had deemed him a missing min. After all this is over, no one will stop me from achieving my goal, Sasuke said cryptically. Sorry Sasuke, but your goal has to wait a little longer, Naruto said seriously. Sasuke's Chidori was ready, and so was Naruto's Rasengan. They locked eyes and knew what was to come. The end of the battle was near. Naruto jumped into the air with an outstretched arm, Rasengan swirling furiously, and focused on his target. Sasuke did the same as the lighting coursed through his hand, ready for the final attack. Rasengan. Chidori. A loud bang could be heard as the two superpowers clashed and battled for dominance. Naruto was trying his best to keep his demeanor in check, but he struggled to maintain it when thoughts of a dead Sasuke started to plague his mind. His outstretched hand wavered slightly, but held firm. Sasuke was a little overwhelmed with Naruto's power, and he was struggling to press his assault. He kept calling for more power, which the curse seal provided eagerly, but he could not penetrate Naruto's Rasengan. He started to slowly gain the advantage. Naruto. Sasuke. They were putting their all into the attack. Naruto knew he could not kill Sasuke, so he wasn't aiming for a vital point. Sasuke, however, had no quarrels with taking his former friend's life. As soon as Naruto's resolve dwindled, even for a second, Sasuke thrust the Chidori at Naruto's chest. For a split second their eyes met and Sasuke couldn't help but stare at the emotions that were plaguing the knucklehead: determination, anger, confusion and regret. What could he possibly be regretful for? He witnessed Naruto's hand glide by his head and realized Naruto had just missed him. Then after he realized that Naruto's Rasengan was so powerful that Sasuke felt his left shoulder snap painfully. He gritted his teeth as he added more pressure into his Chidori until he was sure it went through Naruto's chest. Another loud explosion came from the area, this one louder than the last. Huge clouds of dust and smoke went into the air, a symbol of catastrophe. Sasuke was battered and bruised from the fight. It shouldn't have ended that way. He should have walked out of this unscathed, but Naruto had somehow persisted through the entire battle. Even with everything on the line, Naruto still couldn't finish the job. Pathetic. Sasuke looked at his left arm and could see that it needed medical attention. That ugly gash was nothing to laugh about. Every part of him needed medical attention. He also realized, to his shock, that he was completely exhausted. He could barely stand. No. How did it come to this? He should have had a little more energy to at least make it to Orochimaru, but he didn't. He looked at his opponent and already knew that Naruto was either unconscious or dead. The latter made him feel uncomfortable for some reason. He tried to move his legs, but a sharp pain stopped him in his tracks. He looked down and realized, to his dismay, that the injuries which he sustained were more serious than he suspected. One of his legs was surely broken, the other bruised with sickening colors. He was sure that if he wasn't wearing a shirt, then he would see far worse. He gritted his teeth in anger. That stupid dope. Why did he have to come here? Why did he have to ruin everything? If he still had energy left, then Sasuke would have made sure he killed the idiot. A sharp pain on his abdomen made him grab his stomach and convulse. It was more painful than any of his injuries. They numbed in comparison. He heaved. He felt like someone was slowly playing with his insides, as if someone was rearranging his stomach. It didn't stop from there. It worsened tenfold. His whole body felt like it was set on fire and then dumped in a pit of lava. The sensation was absolutely unbearable. Arg. He grunted out as he tried his best to fight the pain, but it was of no use. He could feel blood coming out of his mouth, nose, and ears. It was too much to take, even for him. Aya. He screamed to the sky as the pain overwhelmed him and then collapsed on the ground. Silence reigned at the Valley of the End, only a light glow of pink could be seen covering Sasuke's body. Kakashi was racing against time, he was frantic, Sasuke betraying the leaf and Naruto going after him. In the past he always thought that it would never come to this, but it seemed that was not the case. He failed, he knew that, he failed as a sensei. It stung to no end that he thought he actually knew what he was doing when in fact it was the opposite. If Minato was still alive then Kakashi knew his former sensei would be disappointed in him for the way he taught his students, if not then he would be certainly pissed. Kami, it was so messed up, the whole situation, it shouldn't have come to this, he should've been more careful, more attentive, but he knew now wasn't the time for what ifs, he needed to find his students and pray that he wasn't too late, pray that there wasn't any casualties for his neglect. He sprinted through the forest, using trees to aid him in his endeavor. It was hard looking for anyone, since it was difficult to detect their chakra. Then he felt something. It was so faint that he would have missed it if he wasn't looking carefully. He sensed a chakra source, which was slowly fading. He went to it with as much speed as a former Anbu Black Ops had. He could slowly see outlines of the Valley of the End, and a sense of foreboding overcame him. For some reason he didn't want to know what was happening there, but he still persisted. When he arrived he was actually surprised with the damage, it looked like there was a huge fight. He looked to the ground below and immediately saw the familiar blonde hair which was covered in blood. The boy looked terrible, Naruto looked dead to the world, and Kakashi's heart stopped at the sight. He felt worse than scum. He quickly jumped down and raced to Naruto. When he got to the boy he carefully analyzed his injuries, a lot of cuts and bruises, but the most significant injury was the big hole through his chest. Kakashi wanted to throw up at the sight. He fought back the bitter tears as he looked at Naruto. Minato wouldn't be disappointed, he would downright kill Kakashi for this. "I'm sorry sensei, I failed." There was nothing else he could say on the matter. The damage had been done, and there would be no turning back from it. He set his face to that of grim determination. The only silver lining of hope was the fact that the wound was starting to slowly heal, indicating that Naruto was still alive, barely clinging on. He needed to get Naruto away from here and bring him back to Konoha. He quickly took another glance around and was met with an unexpected sight. Sasuke. Sasuke was on the ground, on his face. Kakashi knew it was Sasuke because of the clothes. If it wasn't for that then he would have never identified the Uchiha. Kakashi could tell that he suffered some harsh injuries, but not as significant as Naruto's. He quickly made his way to Sasuke to assess any damages, but before he could turn the Uchiha around he was met with another unexpected sight. Sasuke's hair was longer, so long that it went past his behind and covered some of his legs from view, which looked slightly thinner, along with his arms. It must have been the effects of the curse seal, Kakashi deduced. He quickly turned the Uchiha around and was shocked to the core. Although Sasuke attained a lot of injuries, Kakashi was not focusing on them. He was looking at Sasuke's face, which looked feminine. He could see the similarities the face held to Sasuke, he could even see the familiar curse mark, but he could not comprehend what the hell was going on. When his eyes trailed down Sasuke's body he was met with yet another surprise. Two mounds were protruding from the Uchiha's chest and were constricted by the tighter shirt. It didn't take a genius to know that those were breasts. As Kakashi continued his analysis he realized that Sasuke's body had a feminine build as well, sending him to complete bewilderment. What the hell happened to Sasuke? Did the curse seal somehow change him? Was this even Sasuke at all? No, now wasn't the time for this. Both children needed medical attention and Kakashi had to be quick. He made a cage bunchen to handle the girl while he took care of Naruto. He filed away all his questions for later and quickly sprinted, with his clone, to Konoha. Her head was pounding, she could feel her entire body, and it was painful. Every single part of her felt pain. It was truly an unbearable process. She slowly opened her eyes and squinted when harsh light assaulted her vision. She slowly started to open her eyes again when she felt them adjusting to the light. She felt constricted, compressed, and she was finding it difficult to move her limbs. They were not responding at all. She took in the scenery around her and could already tell that she was in a hospital room, of not just any hospital. Konoha. With all those injuries Yao sustained, him surprised that Yao awake so quickly. She quickly looked to where the voice came from and saw the Hokage herself looking out of the room's window. No doubt she was looking at the village. "I ran a medical analysis on your body. You may have sustained a lot of injuries, but you are still able to talk," Tsunade said as she tore her eyes away from the village and looked at the girl, who was bandaged from head to toe, looking more like a mummy than anything else. The girl just stared at her with an unreadable expression, and Tsunade had her doubts that anything productive would be said or done tonight. She wasn't giving up however, not after what Kakashi told her. She needed to make sure for herself of who this person really was. Even if she bared a striking resemblance to Sasuke, she couldn't afford to run to conclusions. It is a bit too early into your recovery, so don't you worry, you don't have to say a lot yet. Tomorrow however is a different story. With that being said, I need to know one thing. Taking the silence as a yes, Tsunade continued, are you Sasuke Uchiha? Not even a shake of the head, the girl wasn't responding to her question at all, and Tsunade had half a mind to use force to get her answers. She was about to ask another, more direct question when she saw the girl look down at herself and gasp involuntarily. That was interesting. Her eyes were wide open in shock, she looked at her arms and chest, as if she was seeing herself for the first time in her life. She had a hard time tearing away from the side of her body and looking at the Hokage, wide-eyed. Tsunade analyzed the reaction quite carefully, the girl seemed confused, if those wide eyes were anything to go by. Tsunade looked into those onyx orbs and saw the different emotions playing out, confusion, then anger, then surprise, then recognition, then resignation, and then finally indifference, the only indifference an Uchiha knew how to pull. "I'll ask again, are you Sasuke Uchiha?" Tsunade asked evenly. The girl just stared at her with the same look and Tsunade was starting to lose her patience, she decided to try something else. "You were lucky when we found you, if it were not for us, then you could have died from your wounds." The same goes for Naruto. When she saw those onyx eyes waver at the very mention of said blonde, Tsunade knew she was getting somewhere. His chest was the worst, it had a complete hole through it, barely missing his heart. "I've seen a lot of things in my past, but that had to be one of the most gruesome memories that will stay with me forever." Poor Naruto, such a good boy, he didn't deserve such a fate, but he is a ninja after all, a tool. Stuff like this happens every day, the girl full out glared at her. Especially when she heard the last statement, and Tsunade was now convinced that this was Sasuke Uchiha. She didn't mean the words she said about Naruto, she cared about him, but she needed to get the desired reaction out of the girl, which was a success. "I shouldn't ramble on, get some rest because I won't be as lenient as I have been tonight. You will answer my questions tomorrow, or there will be consequences," Tsunade said with finality, and then left the room. Her tense body relaxed when the Hokage left, she breathed in a sigh of relief. That conversation could have turned fatal in an instant. She was lucky she kept her mouth shut. She looked down at herself and sighed again. It had finally happened, the jutsu had finally been released, after all these years of being forced to masquerade as a boy, because her father never wanted any daughters. And forced a jutsu on her that hit her gender quite thoroughly. All because I was a girl. It had been forced upon her a few hours after birth, according to her mother, and she had lived as a boy ever since. She even believed that she was a boy until her mother had told her the truth. When she was 5, she snorted at the memory. It was hard for her to believe such a thing, but her mother had finally convinced her, and with that came the questions. Why was she a girl if she was really a boy? Why her? What did she do to deserve this? The answers that came forth were not comforting. She just couldn't help but wonder how people would react to the fact that the great Sasuke Uchiha, the male epitome of female interest, was in fact a girl herself. Over time she had grown to accept the situation. When her clan was murdered, she didn't even care about her gender anymore. The most important thing, the one thing that she had committed to, was vengeance. Her one and true goal was to kill her brother and avenge her clan in the process. Only then could she focus on anything else like reviving her clan or something. She guessed the gender change was a blessing in some way. If she was discovered to be female at a young age, then she would have been subjugated to a life of breeding instead of being a shinobi. The very thought made her shiver. Now the jig was up, people would know sooner or later of her true identity, not that she cared. To make matters worse, she ran away from Konoha, betraying them in the process. Her escape had been a failure, things were not looking good there. Naruto, when she thought of Tsunade's earlier words she gritted her teeth. She was angry with the old hag for her attitude towards Naruto's well-being. She silently hoped the dope was alive, yes, even if she disliked the idiot and tried to kill him. It wouldn't help for him to suddenly give up on life and die. Oh Kami, what will he do when he saw her true form, the real her? She felt like escaping Konoha all over again, no reasons coming forth. She shouldn't care what they thought of her, she was an Uchiha prodigy, she doesn't care about them, only her goal matters. Knowing the village council they would try their best to get her nothing more than a slap on the wrist for her actions. Since she was the last Uchiha, they couldn't submit her to breeding stock either. It was too late, she would fight it, and she thanked Kami for that. She looked outside the window and saw an Anbu operative situated there, just great, there was no escaping this time it seemed. She decided to get some rest and wait for the inevitable confrontations with everyone, especially Naruto. That is impossible, Hokage-sama. Sasuke Uchiha cannot just turn into a female overnight, it is unprecedented. Tsume said from her sit in the council room. I've ran the analysis and proceeded to do a few tests. All of my efforts have pointed out to the fact that Sasuke Uchiha is a female, Tsunade said. This is no time for useless accusations, Tsunade, as if the Uchiha's betrayal wasn't enough to deal with, Kaheru said. The Uchiha has been captured, he or she is healing as we speak. She was really getting tired of having to prove herself, she was Hokage, her words should mean law. I cannot help but think that you are using this as an excuse for your failure to bring back Sasuke Uchiha. Honestly, Tsunade, accusing an innocent girl of being Sasuke when you should be more focused on bringing him back, Kaharu said irritably. I agree with her, Hamura added in. How would you explain the curse mark? She knew it was an idiotic thing to ask, considering that Shikamaru had informed her of more people who had similar curse seals on them. Orochimaru had most probably cast that mark upon the young child, along with others. This conversation is becoming tedious. Tsunade could take a lot from this council, but only to a point. She did not have a lot of patience, a short temper as well, a combination that spoke volumes for her lack of tolerance to insolence. Are you questioning my judgment as Hokage? Tsunade asked dangerously as she eyed both Kaharu and Hamura. It is not uncommon for people to make mistakes, Tsunade. No one is perfect. Well, screw you too. Tsunade will not be made a fool out of anymore. Enough of this. I did not come here with vague statistics. I administered a chakra test, which was positively identified as the Uchiha's, a blood test which positively identified the girl as Sasuke. Now, who wishes to denounce my proof? Silence was her only answer in the room. It seemed that she was slowly getting through to them, although some still refused to believe her. How is it possible though? We would have all known if Sasuke was female a long time ago, Mibuyuki said confusedly. She was filling in for her sick husband today. It could have been some side effect of the curse seal. However, a thorough physical exam will be conducted to determine what exactly happened to the boy now girl. An interrogation will also be conducted for further analysis, Tsunade surmised. If that is the case, Hokage-sama, then we will need to discuss possible punishments for Sasuke's defection, Inoichi said. Right, you are, Inoichi. I have thought long and hard on this decision, and I think it would be much easier to permanently imprison the Uchiha to avoid future consequences. If she had tried to defect from Konoha already, then it's safe to say that she will do it again when given the chance. It was odd for everyone. Referring to Sasuke Uchiha as a girl did not make any sense to the image of the stoic boy they have all burnt to memory. That would not be a good idea, Tsunade. If Sasuke is indeed here, then the safest thing for us to do is give him a probationary period and try to sway his ideas of defection away from his thoughts, Kaharu said, making sure to ignore the glare Tsunade sent her. She did not believe this stupid farce of Sasuke being a female, but it never hurt to be careful. Why on earth would you let the Uchiha free after everything that has happened? The retrieval team suffered greatly because of the Uchiha's betrayal, and the only punishment you are suggesting is nothing more than probation. Tsunade asked fiercely. Would you rather we imprisoned him and then have Orochimaru somehow free him in the end? He would certainly hate Konoha and want revenge. We would be looking at a war with Orochimaru and Sasuke. We would not have the advantage of Sharingan wielders, and that could cripple the very foundation of the Leaf Village, Kaharu fought back. And what if she finds a way to escape your probation? It would lead to the same result. There isn't any other choice about this. Sasuke Uchiha must die, Tsunade said in realization. It only made sense. If Sasuke was dead, then Orochimaru couldn't get his hands on her. And what of the Sharingan? There is no other way to transfer it without breeding. We cannot afford to lose such an asset that could mean all the difference in future battles, Hamura said. If Sasuke Uchiha is really a female, then we could subject her to breeding new and capable Sharingan candidates. It would only be just punishment for her actions, Danzo said as he made his rare appearance in the council room. It would all lead to the same result, betrayal and a thirst for revenge against Konoha. At this moment Konoha cannot afford to lose any valuable shinobi because of risks like this, Tsunade said sharply. How about we let her give us a few children and then kill her? We will use the children to develop and restore the Sharingan. Anybody in the room could admit that Danzo was truly a disgusting man with no morals. Subjugating Sasuke's offspring to a life of breeding was borderline monstrous. That is something Tsunade would not allow. I have come up with a compromise of some sort. Seeing all eyes on her, Tsunade continued. Sasuke Uchiha will be given a strict probationary period where she will be watched over at all times to see if she could indeed be swayed to love Konoha. There were a lot of happy faces, mainly the civilian portion of the council, but she was far from finished however. If Sasuke attempts to flee the village again or tries to inflict harm among her fellow civilians, then she will be killed without question. What about developing heirs to the Sharingan cause? Sometimes Tsunade wished she could discreetly kill Danzo and leave it at that. We must give him the option to choose a partner. If we force someone upon him, then he will not produce heirs, Mibuyuki quickly added, already visualizing her daughter with Sasuke. She refused to believe Tsunade's assumptions. Sasuke could not just turn into a girl out of nowhere. The old hag must have been losing her touch with reality. For the last time, until it is proven otherwise, Sasuke Uchiha is a female, a girl, so if you are going so far to make sure that she is a free woman, then at least have the courtesy to address her as such, Tsunade replied. She wasn't saying this to aid the Uchiha at all. She was getting pissed at people questioning her judgment over and over again. Yes, Hokage-sama, Mibuyuki replied curtly. As for Sasuke having to choose a partner or even trying to produce heirs, that is out of the question. There was an uproar of demands for an explanation. Simple, she is under probation, she will not be trained, not be romantically involved with anyone, and certainly not have sex. She will commit herself to doing nothing more than D-rank missions for a full 2 years. This time people were really angry at outweighing her declaration. She didn't give two shits about it. 2 years, Kaharu screeched. Those conditions will be met or the Uchiha will die by my Anbis hands, your choice, and I would advise you to make a wise decision, Tsunade said with finality to the gathered council members. She will not hold room for argument this time, although they had the advantage of with votes. She made sure to limit their choices to completely pardon the Uchiha for her crimes. After a long discussion the gathered crowd had made their decision. Our terms are most agreeable, Hokage-sama, Kaharu said, using her title for the first time in her miserable life. Good, this meeting is adjourned. I will continue my examination of Sasuke, Tsunade informed and then left the council room. Bitch, Kaharu hissed under her breath. She had woken up early in the morning, she didn't know why, but she guessed her internal clock must have been scrambled from her injuries. She was really just guessing at this point. She could never forget that battle she had with Naruto, where they were actually equals in strength for the first time. She snorted at that, it was still painful to move. Her body had not fully healed, and the process was a long way from being done. She briefly wondered how long she had been in the hospital. She couldn't tell. Had she been here for a few days? Or maybe for a few weeks? If that was the case, then how come no one had come in and seen her? Where was Sakura? The pink-headed girl would probably be the first to try and see her, because she was in love with her, in love with a lie. It would crush the girl to no end when she realized that she was in love with a fake persona. Oh well, it was Sakura's fault. She had tried to get the girl to see reason, to see that the feelings she felt could never be returned, but Sakura refused to listen. She refused all the signs. Sasuke found herself feeling sorry for Sakura, but it wasn't her problem. Then there was the person that plagued her recent dream, Naruto. Where the hell was the idiot? After all the pushing and shoving to bring her back to the leaf, she thought he would at least come to boast about how great he was for defeating her, albeit not indefinitely, but she would have thought that cocky bastard would come to rub it in her face. She could just imagine it. He would walk through that door and say, "Hey Sasuke team. I told you it'd kick your ass." Then afterwards he would look at her with those stupid big blue eyes and scream, "Who the hell are you, lady, and where the hell is that team?" She had to stifle a laugh at the thought. That would definitely be the way Naruto would react. She sighed. She guessed those times of competitive jabs were over. She was an enemy now. Even if people found out about her gender, it wouldn't change their view of who she was to them, a traitor. "Like I care," she whispered fiercely, but there was still those thoughts that scared her. Even if she didn't want to admit it, she was really starting to regret trying to escape. The door to the room opened slowly, and Sasuke found herself holding her breath in anticipation, only for her mood to sour when she saw Tsunade. "Good morning, I hope you slept well." The greeting wasn't at all kind, more out of courtesy and mannerism. Sasuke kept her mouth shut and looked outside the window that was next to her. "I hope you remember my words from yesterday. You will answer every question I ask," Tsunade said as she grabbed a seat and sat at the Uchiha's bed. Sasuke was unmoving. "Are you Sasuke Uchiha?" She knew it was him or her, but it would do her a world of good if she heard it from the accused's mouth. "I will not repeat the question, you better answer or I will break you in half and heal you very slowly," Tsunade said indifferently with a glint in her eye. "Yes," she replied softly and then cursed her lapse of weakness. She knew Tsunade was not joking with what she said, so she decided to concede and let fate decide. "Good, how are you a female?" Tsunade continued. "You're lucky you have me questioning you, Ibiki will not be so kind. I was born a female." Sasuke blurted out quickly, "Damn this old hag. Why did she have to bring Ibiki up?" "Okay, how did you cover up that fact?" Tsunade asked. "My father used a jutsu to change my appearance." She couldn't believe that she was actually giving information to Tsunade, but the thought of Ibiki made her thankful for her choice. "I will have to do an investigation on that. The jutsu, was it like Naruto's stupid jutsu?" Tsunade asked while raising an eyebrow. "No," Sasuke glared at the Hokage, the jutsu that she was administered to was nothing like Naruto's stupid perverted jutsu. "How so?" Tsunade asked. "The jutsu was designed to change my body structure to that of a male, while keeping my female attributes dormant until the jutsu was released," Sasuke said. "So are you telling me that you were actually a functioning male?" Tsunade asked in bewilderment. "To a point, yes, although I couldn't reproduce like a male could," Sasuke said indifferently. "How was the jutsu released?" Tsunade continued. "To be honest, I'm not sure. My parents never taught me any specifics pertaining to the jutsu. It could have been released during my fight with the dope." Sasuke shrugged and pointedly ignored the glare Tsunade sent her way. "I must investigate this type of jutsu, it seems too hard to believe," Tsunade said in fascination. Well, I doubt you'll find any remnants of it. I was the last one to suffer from that kind of jutsu before all the scrolls pertaining the jutsus information were burned, Sasuke replied. Nevertheless, an investigation will be conducted at the Uchiha compound. It isn't like you'll be living there anymore, Tsunade said. You mean to tell me that you're kicking out of my birthright? Sasuke said as she glared at Tsunade. You lost that right when you betrayed this village. You've also lost any sort of rank you had here. All of your Uchiha assets will be confiscated until further notice, Tsunade said seriously. How dare you? Imanuch. Slap. Irk. Sasuke grunted when she felt the sting of the slap. She could feel the pain slowly increasing again. You're lucky I didn't use any chakra. You won't have a head right now. You don't have any right to deem yourself so highly. From this day forward, you are nothing more than a civilian who will do D-rank missions, Tsunade said. Sasuke opened her mouth to protest, but then quickly shut it again when she saw Tsunade getting ready for another slap. You will be in a 2-year probation period. She gave a stern look to silence the stupid girl and continued, where you'll be watched over for 24 hours of the day, 7 days of the week, and receive no further training. She could see the girl was furious. Tough. Failure to comply will result in your immediate death, cause any trouble and you will die as well, Tsunade said with finality. Is that all? Sasuke gritted out in fury. She was expecting nothing less of a pardon for her actions, but a probation period with no training. How was she going to beat her brother now? She couldn't even escape this place because they would be watching her like a hawk. Crap. More will be added if I see fit, but that is all for now, Tsunade said as she stood up and started to make her leave. Where will I live? The question flew out of her mouth before she could stop herself, and she dreaded the answer when Tsunade looked at her again. The old hag looked like she was ready to kill her. Don't you worry, I will make arrangements, Tsunade replied critically and then left the room. Sasuke sighed again. Her life truly sucked. Naruto opened his eyes groggily. He felt horrible, his body felt terrible, he could barely stand the pain, but he refused to submit to weakness, so he forced himself into a sitting position and promptly doubled over in pain. Easy, Naruto. You're injured, you shouldn't try to move yourself. He felt a hand gently push him down until he was laying on the bed yet again. He looked up lazily and saw a blurred vision. When he could finally see, clearly focus, he was met with the sight of a worried Sakura. Sakura-chan. Naruto called hoarsely. Yeah, Naruto, I'm here. She sounded like she was struggling not to cry. Oh, he couldn't think of anything else to say. He realized, to his dismay, that he was back in the hospital. Naruto, Sakura looked down, as if she was afraid to speak. Yeah? Naruto prompted. Sakura sighed and then looked at him again. What happened? Naruto's mouth formed a thin line at the question. He knew what she was talking about, it was obvious, but he didn't know if he could tell her. He remembered the battle with Sasuke, which ended up with him on the ground and Sasuke standing. That's the last thing he had seen before darkness claimed him. He had easily deduced that he had failed in retrieving Sasuke. He lost and Sasuke won. He felt crushed. He gulped when he saw Sakura's face. She had the right to know, she deserved to know. We chased after them, the people who took Sasuke. We got separated and I ended up finding Sasuke on my own. We talked and I tried to convince him to come back. It didn't work out and we ended up fighting. Naruto looked down. It was difficult to think about it. I lost and he was the last one standing. Naruto finished with a sigh. He dared not look at Sakura. Sakura bit her lip nervously, dreading to ask the important question, but she needed to. Did he get away? Yeah. Sakura was ready to cry at this point. She had never felt so useless in her entire life. Not only did Naruto suffer, but Sasuke was gone now and never coming back. Don't worry, Sakura-chan. I will get him back at all costs. I promised you and I always keep my promises. Naruto said loudly. Tears were flowing down her face. She couldn't bear this. No, Naruto, you've done enough. I don't want you suffering like this. I have to, Sakura-chan. I never go back on my word. Naruto said strongly. Then we'll do it together. I won't be useless anymore. I'll become stronger and we'll save him together. Sakura-chan, Naruto whispered in awe. Promise me we'll do it together. Promise me, Naruto, Sakura said. I promise, Naruto said with a small smile. Good, you need. Her statement was cut off with the door opening and Tsunade walking in. Oh good, you're awake, Tsunade said as she spotted the blonde. Okage-sama? Sakura asked confusedly. Hey Ba-chan, Naruto said with a tired grin. Stupid brat, you had me worried, she said the last part softly. She barely showed her vulnerable side, but when she had seen Naruto's condition her heart had stopped and she cried, not in the presence of others, but she had cried in solitude. She did her best to heal him as much as possible, but the rest could only be done by the Kyuubi. She felt so relieved to see him awake. Nothing will stop me from being Hokage one day, he said weakly. Like that will ever happen, Tsunade replied with a smile. How's everyone? Naruto asked suddenly. All will make a full recovery in due time, so they're fine Naruto, Tsunade said. That's good, Naruto said with his eyes closed. I must congratulate you on a successful retrieval mission. She knew the questions were coming, no one but the council knew of Sasuke's presence in the hospital. Sasuke was in a secured location where she wouldn't be easily discoverable. Sasuke escaped Bachan, Naruto said emotionlessly. No Naruto, he didn't, Tsunade said and mentally prepared herself for the onslaught of questions. What do you mean? Naruto asked as he stared at the Hokage. He was captured and returned to Konoha, Tsunade said carefully. She had to carefully ease them into the life-changing news. So Hess here in this hospital, Naruto asked in surprise and excitement. Hell, even Sakura was ready to bolt as soon as she heard which room Sasuke was in. Yes, but you have to listen carefully before you can see Sasuke again, she added quickly. What? Sakura asked impatiently. Tsunade sighed, there was no use of being subtle about it. The Sasuke that you knew was false, Tsunade said. Whatever. Where is he? Naruto asked excitedly, completely forgetting about his injuries. Listen first. Sasuke isn't who you think he is, Tsunade said. Come on Bachan, you're wasting our time. Naruto said angrily. You better listen to me or I'll knock you back to Lala Land, you hear me? Tsunade snapped and was met with silence. Sasuke Uchiha is Kami, this was going to be tough for them, Sasuke Uchiha is a girl. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Naruto shouted confusedly. Exactly how it said, Sasuke Uchiha is a girl, a female, always has been. She could see that they were refusing to believe her and she couldn't help but sigh, stubborn children. This isn't funny Hokage-sama. Sakura screamed after a pause, she was pissed with Tsunade's untruthful words. It was never meant to be a joke, Tsunade replied seriously. Sheesh, your old age must be catching up to you Bachan, Naruto said after another pause. You little, sigh, I just wanted you to know that so you would be prepared, Tsunade said. Where is Sasuke-kun? Tsunade could already tell that Sakura refused to believe her statement, she tried, it seemed that they needed to see the truth for themselves. Room B065 on the 4th floor, make sure you tell them that you have permission from me to see Sasuke. Tsunade wasn't sure if Sakura even heard her, the girl was already racing to see Sasuke. I can't believe that Bachan, I would know if Sasuke was a girl or not Naruto said seriously. Do you honestly think that I would lie to you Naruto? Tsunade countered. Naruto just looked down, if what Tsunade said was in fact true, then he really was confused. Sakura sprinted up the stairs to the 4th floor, when she found the specific room she immediately told the guards that Tsunade had sent her here, she quickly went inside the room and spotted its only occupant, she couldn't really get a clear view of the person, since all she was staring at was their back, with long hair, but she needed answers. Sasuke-kun? Sakura called uncertainly. The figure sighed and slowly started to turn around, Sakura held her breath as her green eyes stared into Onyx. Well, I was beginning to think that you would never show, Sasuke looked at Sakura carefully, she was expecting the emotion that she saw in Sakura's eyes, anger. You are not Sasuke-kun, Sasuke-kun isn't a female, Sakura said in denial. Sasuke sighed, typical. Sorry to disappoint you Sakura, but I am the one and only Sasuke Uchiha, Sasuke said in a hollow manner. Sakura was furious, she walked up to Sasuke and slapped her hard on the face, not taking note of the injuries Sasuke already had. Why does everyone feel like slapping me today? Sasuke asked indifferently. You bitch. How dare you? You think him stupid. I know Sasuke-kun and you are not him. Sakura screamed and then punched Sasuke in the face. GRG. Sasuke grunted as she felt the impact of Sakura's fist, blood started dripping from her nose from the assault, Sasuke had enough, she activated her Sharingan, greatly shocking Sakura in the process. Wah? Sakura said in shock. I can't believe I thought that you were changing, tell me Sakura, why do you think I thanked you before I left? Sasuke asked as she stared at the pink-haired girl. Sakura's mind completely went blank at that statement, nobody else knew of the encounter, except for Sasuke and herself, no, it couldn't be possible. When you said that you loved me, when you begged me to stay, when you begged to come with me, why do you think I said thank you? Easy, I actually felt flattered, even if I didn't feel the same way about you I still felt touched by your words, even if it was only a minuscule amount, now look at you. You refuse to believe the truth, even if it's right in front of you. TCH you know what, I don't have to prove anything to anyone, believe what you want to, Sasuke said, then looked away from Sakura. No Sakura was horrified, her mind was a jumble of thoughts. No. Sakura screamed as she ran out of the room, bawling her eyes out, it was too much for her to take. Sasuke sighed again, that could have ended better. Can I see him her? Tsunade looked at Naruto, she could easily tell he was torn between believing her statement or sticking to his own views, her heart went out to him. Alright, give me a minute, she left the room and came a few seconds later with a wheelchair. The journey to Sasuke's room was met with silence. Tsunade truly hoped that Naruto would not take the new image of Sasuke Uchiha badly, she didn't want him going insane because of it all. When they arrived at the door, Tsunade had one final thing to say. "Keep an open mind," she told him softly, and only got a light nod in response. She opened the door and they went into the room. Sasuke was looking out the window from her bed. It never ceased to amaze her on how big Konoha actually was as a village. It truly stood out, especially with that Hokage monument. Her musings were cut short when the door opened, and when she turned around, she immediately saw those familiar azure iris boring into her. "Oh," Sasuke addressed after a pause. Naruto was squinting his eyes and analyzing every aspect of the Uchiha, all the differences and similarities. After some time he stopped and then looked at Sasuke again. "I've only been a female for a little while, and you're already ogling me? You really are pervert," Sasuke scoffed. "So, it really is you team," Naruto said as he eyed Sasuke. "Do you also want proof like Sakura?" "Well, too bad, I'm not feeling in the mood to do so," Sasuke said offhandedly and flopped on her bed. "You even sound like a girl," Naruto said in astonishment. It was hard to miss the similarities to the team. "How's you chest? I hope I didn't hurt you too badly," Sasuke mocked. "Yep, it's you alright," Naruto said seriously. "So what of it, Naruto-kun? Is this the part where we shake hands and forget about everything that happened?" Sasuke continued to mock. Tsunade scowled. She didn't like the Uchiha's attitude, but she decided to let Naruto handle it. Hell no, you freaking team. "The term is mesu now, my dear idiot," Sasuke corrected. "Whatever, there is some good in this though," Naruto said with a grin that Sasuke immediately didn't like. "What?" Sasuke did her best to hide her worry. "I kicked your ass all the way back to Konoha." Naruto chuckled quietly and grimaced. He felt a little pain, but he dulled it out. Sasuke huffed and glared at the knucklehead. "You, the great Uchiha that always thought he was better than anyone, was beaten by me, the dead last loser." Naruto chuckled out. "Screw you." Sasuke spat in anger. She didn't even consider acting indifferently anymore. Naruto was pissing her off. Tsunade raised an eyebrow when she saw the Uchiha visibly upset. It seemed that Naruto had an effect on the girl. "What's even better is the fact that you're a girl. Your tough guy routine won't work on anyone now. The fangirls are gonna freak out. Even that face you're making looks funny." Naruto full out laughed when Sasuke narrowed her eyes at him. "You bastard." Sasuke shouted in anger. She wished she was better now. She really wanted to strangle Naruto. "Hey, that's my line." Naruto laughed and then coughed. "Don't strain yourself, brat. You haven't completely healed yet." Tsunade admonished. "Cough. Sorry, I'm calm now," Naruto said more calmly. "That's good because I have an announcement," Tsunade said. "What is it?" Naruto asked curiously. "Sasuke Uchiha has been given a probation period for her actions against Konoha." She bit her lip after she said that. It was an unfair judgment. People suffered trying to bring Sasuke back, and after all the bloodshed, Sasuke had not even gotten a prison sentence. Tell me something I don't know," Sasuke muttered. I thought they would send her behind bars. It was going to be very difficult to adjust to calling Sasuke a she. Believe me, Naruto, if it were up to me then I would have killed her." Crap. She realized too late that she said something that did not sit well with Naruto. "I want her to pay for what she did, but not with her life," Naruto said seriously. "Which is why I have come to a decision," Tsunade said. She really hoped this worked. "What might that be, Hokage-sama?" Sasuke added in, sarcasm dripping from her mouth. "And Naruto becomes your caretaker," Tsunade said. "What?" Both Sasuke and Naruto screamed. "You heard me," Tsunade replied. "What the hell, Bachan?" Naruto shouted. "Relax and hear me out. Sasuke will be allowed to roam around the village under constant surveillance. If she tries to escape she will be killed. If she causes trouble she will be killed, so she has no choice but to cooperate," Tsunade said to the shocked Naruto. "What does that have to do with me?" Naruto screamed once he got his bearings back. "She will live with you and do whatever it is you ask of her, without question and within reason. She has to follow your orders, like a slave of sorts," Tsunade replied with a grin. "You're sick." Sasuke spat as her Sharingan blazed. I can't." Tsunade cut off his rant before he started. She knew he would not agree to it when she had said slave, but she took the risk anyway. "Think about it, Naruto, Sasuke is getting away with this much too easily for anyone's liking. I'm giving you the chance to be in charge of the Uchiha. She has to follow your way of living, to experience what it's like beyond the pampered illusion of being the last Uchiha. It is your chance to show her reality, Naruto," Tsunade said. "What an idiotic idea, show me reality. You have no clue what you're talking about, Hokage. I've lived alone, I've witnessed my clan massacred, I've lived reality. I've lived hell. Your crappy view of my past does nothing to dwindle your incompetence," Sasuke said strongly. Naruto thought about what Tsunade said. She was right, Sasuke was getting off way too easily for her actions. That stupid village council, blatantly thrusting everything the Uchiha's way. It was unfair to him, unfair to his comrades who risked their lives to bring that Temmesu back home. He had made his decision. I accept, Naruto said suddenly. I refuse. Sasuke retorted. She was shocked that Naruto actually accepted such a ludicrous proposal. You have no choice, Uchiha. If you refuse, then you will live off the streets of Konoha. How would that look for you? The great Sasuke Uchiha, reduced to nothing but a common beggar. It was a lie, however. So many people would aid the Uchiha in her plight, but Tsunade had to back the girl into a corner. People will aid me, Sasuke said, but the hint of uncertainty was very prominent. Perhaps, but you have more enemies than you can count now after your betrayal, Tsunade countered. Sasuke sighed in defeat. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Sasuke mentally sighed. Her life was miserable. She had to stay in the hospital until she had made a full recovery. Kami, it was a nightmare. It was bad enough that Tsunade was the one tending to her wounds and making sure she was alright, but Sasuke had to admit, the old hag could hold a grudge when it suited her. It was obvious Tsunade was upset at her for what she did to Naruto. Although Sasuke couldn't really figure out what relationship was shared between the two. Tsunade didn't like her, the feeling was mutual, but the old hag could at least be gentle when she was changing bandages. Honestly, Tsunade made her recovery nearly unbearable with her constant questions, her open threats, her rough treatment during examination. Sasuke had never felt so violated in her entire life. As if that wasn't bad enough, she had to deal with constant visits from Naruto. Boasting on how great he was for kicking her ass, she knew his game, he was doing it to deliberately piss her off. She couldn't understand it. No one had ever made her lose her composure like the dead last loser. Just the thought of Naruto made her angry, and she couldn't even comprehend why. He had an effect on her which no one else had. He knew how to push the right buttons, and that was not cool, that was scary. That idiot even plagued her dreams and her nightmares. Some were so vivid that she would wake up with a start, in a cold sweat, tears leaking from her eyes. She would angrily brush them off, of course. Uchiha did not cry. She refused to believe that these dreams were from guilt. That would be impossible. She had never felt guilty for the things she had done and the people she had used to achieve her goals. Uchihas were perfect, they did no feel guilty for anything. Damn that dope. Damn him. What the hell was he doing to her? She decided to quickly change her line of thought before she threw a fit. It was a long way to recovery, but she had finally healed enough to be admitted out of the hospital. She was immediately placed before the council, so Tsunade could prove to them that she was really Sasuke Uchiha. They didn't buy it for a second, the look on Tsunade's face was priceless. After all the documented examination and analysis results were provided, the council had no other choice but to believe Tsunade's words. Then those idiots blamed Naruto for corrupting Sasuke with perverted ideas. They actually thought she used her own Warrick no Jutsu to make herself female. What the hell was wrong with those people? Were they so desperate to thrust their daughters at the handsome Sasuke Uchiha in hopes of gaining status and an achievable Uchiha connection? They refused to believe the truth, even after everything that was placed before them. Those people were the village council. Konoha's future looked bleak. After all was said and done, the village council gave her the conditions of her probation, which were much lighter than Tsunade's, but the old hag was having none of it, even going as far as to declare that Sasuke Uchiha was now homeless and will be living with Naruto. No one was to aid her in any way, now. That made them angry, but what Tsunade said next made most council members want to kill Naruto. He would be her caretaker, issuing orders in which the Uchiha had to follow. Tsunade almost killed some of them because of the uproar and disrespectful calls. Naruto had healed a lot faster than Sasuke did, so he had probably already been in his apartment a day prior to her release from the hospital. She had been given new clothes to accommodate her new gender, nothing fancy, only necessities that a female needed. Did she mention Tsunade didn't like her? Her new clothes were alright, a standard blue shirt, white shorts and shinobi sandals. She didn't mind the outfit, which outlined her developing curves and assets. No, the thing that she didn't like was the bra that she had to put on. She didn't care about the panties that she wore, the bra was the problem. The thing was constricting, and it made her chest seem all the more enticing to those perverted males. She didn't know her cup size, but she had a sinking feeling that she was a lot bigger than any kunoichi her age, just great. She hated being a female. All the steps that were needed to be taken to look presentable. Kami, it was way easier when she was a guy, it was. She didn't have to worry about woman underwear. Keeping her hair away from being tangled was also a problem. It was so long, it went straight past her butt. It was so unfair. She preferred her male form more because it was easier to handle. There were many things she didn't like about being a female, mainly these weird emotions, constantly jumping from one to the next, but there was one thing that she absolutely dreaded, her monthly period. She guessed the jutsu she was under was able to deal with that problem, but now that she was a girl again, then she would have to endure losing a bit of her blood for the rest of her life. It wasn't something that was talked about, in fact it was taboo, but her mother had explained everything to her when she revealed the truth of her gender. She really didn't like reliving that conversation. Now here Sasuke was, walking with Tsunade to her prison for the next 2 years. She really hoped it was only 2 years. She didn't like this predicament, but she had no other choice. It was this or death, and she needed to be alive to kill Itachi. She looked around and noticed that people weren't giving her a second glance. They don't know who you are yet, but once they do I can assure you that they'll be giving you more than just a glance, Tsunade stated. Yippee, Sasuke drawled out distastefully. I'd watch myself from now on if I were you, Uchiha. You're a female now, some guys may find you desirable. Tsunade looked down at the girl with a frown. Are you worried I might get raped or something? Sasuke asked boredly. Oh no, if that were to happen it would be unfortunate, but easily dismissible. Tsunade smirked when the girl glared at her, however, that is not the reason. Oh, why don't you enlighten me? Sasuke asked curtly. If you are found being involved with anyone, you will be killed on the spot. Even if it isn't my fault. Sasuke sputtered out in surprise. Oh yes, so be very careful. Tsunade didn't even spare her a glance. Sasuke looked at Tsunade in contempt. She didn't care about this village, but that didn't mean she liked Tsunade's attitude. What a bitch. Stare at me all you like, it won't change a thing, Tsunade replied evenly, not even looking at the girl. Sasuke settled for silently cursing the Hokage. They soon arrived at Naruto's apartment, but before they could enter Tsunade had a few words to say. Naruto will be your caretaker, he will provide you with food, water, etc. You are to follow his commands. If he asks you to clean then you will clean, if he asks you to cook, then that's exactly what you will do. If you cause trouble. Yeah, I'll be killed. Why Naruto? Why would you subject me to being that dope's maid? Out of all the punishments you could think of, why the hell did you have to pick this one? Sasuke asked incredulously. Simple, of all the people that suffered due to your betrayal Naruto was the worst. He died twice in the operating room because of that hole you made. We were lucky that he could heal remarkably quickly. You made a lot of people suffer, and with the limited options that I had, then you can bet I picked this punishment. It may not be what you deserve, but it will be close enough. Tsunade said seriously. Sasuke kept silent after she heard Tsunade say that Naruto had actually died twice. She felt uncomfortable with that revelation. Tsunade struggled to keep her composure, those were not welcoming memories. She steeled her face and then opened the door to Naruto's apartment. Naruto had not been having a good day, his water bill had increased, and the landlord was getting impatient with the monthly rent, which was ridiculously large. It wasn't fair, people hated and exploited him because of that damn fox. Adding to the fact that Sakura didn't want to talk to him or anyone, then his sour mood would be justified. He had a serious talk with Jiraiya a few days ago, but he didn't really want to think of that conversation now. Tsunade had told him that Sasuke would be coming today, no matter what had happened between them. Naruto couldn't bring himself to hate Sasuke, the Uchiha was a prick, but they had been through way too much together for Naruto to detest Sasuke. That did not mean he wasn't angry at Sasuke for what she did, for what she put people through. No, he didn't hate her, but he was mad at her. When Tsunade had given him this proposal he wanted to decline because he never was a person to commit someone else to slavery. He didn't believe in that crap, but when Tsunade suggested showing Sasuke the error of her ways, then he really thought about it. This was his chance to teach Sasuke a lesson, to bring the almighty Uchiha back to earth, to show Sasuke what being a human was like. And if it was for Sasuke's own good then Naruto was all for it. His head snapped up when he heard his front door opening. He saw Tsunade walk in, and then his azure eyes met Sasuke's onyx. Tsunade cleared her throat to get his attention back on her. I actually thought you'd be sleeping right now. Tsunade raised an eyebrow at the blonde, who was watching TV. Come on Bachan. It's noon. Naruto pouted. Naruto, you need to rest for just a little while longer, Tsunade said. Nah, I'm good, Naruto waved off her concerns. Alright, well, I bought the Uchiha as promised, the council has also provided funds for her benefit, Tsunade informed. She didn't mind the last part of her statement, the funds would benefit Naruto as well, everyone knew that the boy needed the money. Yeah, Naruto said absent-mindedly as he stared down Sasuke. Remember what I said Naruto, Tsunade said seriously, and then left the apartment. Sasuke was staring at Naruto impassively, the idiot had silently declared a staring match, but Sasuke was not in the mood for that, she rolled her eyes when she saw him assess her body. Still ogling. I thought you would have at least gotten over the fact that I'm female, Sasuke informed boredly. I don't care what gender you are, you'll always be a team to me. Naruto said strongly, he had to admit that Sasuke's outfit accentuated her curves quite nicely, and he could also see that she was more developed than any other girl their age. He quickly slapped himself, what was he thinking? This was Sasuke. Sasuke just sighed, it was as if Naruto was getting dumber with each passing day. Sasuke reminded after a pause, she didn't care about people calling her names, let them have their childish hobbies. Like I care, Naruto snorted out and then stared at his TV. Sasuke took the opportunity to look around Naruto's apartment and she only had 3 words to say. What a dump, Sasuke said distastefully. Hey. This is where you'll be living from now on too, you prick. Naruto gritted out. Sasuke's nose wrinkled in disgust, the place was an absolute mess, ramen cups were everywhere, clothes were dumped unceremoniously around the living room and kitchen, and there was this funny smell she couldn't distinguish. She spotted something out of Naruto's window, she mentally sighed, she had forgotten about the Anbu that would be always watching her. She looked back at Naruto and saw him still in his jumpsuit and she couldn't help but raise an eyebrow, didn't the dope have anything else to put on? Let's get one thing clear, dope, I have no choice but to be here, this crap you call a home, I don't like you don't like me, so let's make this probationary period bearable, shall we? Sasuke said with her eyes closed. Naruto just raised an eyebrow at her statement, he didn't have to listen to shit, but he decided to see where she was going with this. We will divide the spaces between us, you can keep this lounging area, but I have the bedroom, which I'm sure I have to clean up since you're nothing more than a pig, we will have to share the kitchen however, so I will have permission to use the kitchen when I'm hungry, Sasuke said evenly. Naruto said nothing and let her continue. You will be allowed into the bedroom only for hygienic purposes, nothing else, Sasuke said, and then opened her eyes to see the dope's reaction, he was unreadable. GRMMMM Sasuke actually thought the Naruto was going to explode from anger with the way he was slowly becoming red. GRMM, wahahahaha. Naruto doubled over in laughter. Sasuke stared wide-eyed at the blonde, who was busy rolling on the ground and laughing his butt off, her surprise quickly turned into anger. What's so funny, you idiot? Sasuke gritted out. Hahaha, you. Hahaha. Naruto continued. Sasuke grit her teeth in anger, she didn't find any humor in the situation. Naruto calmed himself down and then surprised Sasuke with how serious he looked. I'm not stupid, Sasuke, Bachan put me in charge, not you. Don't even try to act tough either, Bachan told me all about those chakra suppression seals she put on each of your wrists, right now you can barely harm Ino with how weak you are, Naruto said with a smug grin. Sasuke gaped at the dope, he dared to call her weak. Shall show him weak. Sasuke ran, grabbed Naruto by the collar, and yanked him so he was an inch from her face, she glared furiously at Naruto, that cocky grin he was still sporting, made her want to kill him all over again. Careful Sasuke-chan, you don't want those guys outside to get the wrong idea, Naruto said while grinning like an idiot. Sasuke took a glance at the window and saw the Anbu on alert, she knew they were waiting for her to slip up so they could deliver the finishing blow, she growled at the blonde and then shoved him away from her. Naruto didn't even seem fazed in the least, he looked around and then an idea came to him. Well, Bachan said, I need to order you around and stuff, so I guess I should start with something easy, clean this place up, Naruto said, indicating to the designated area. Have you finally lost what little brain power you have left? I'm not cleaning up after you, this is your mess, I don't have to do anything, I give orders, not take them, the faster you learn that the easier this period will be, Sasuke stated with a scowl, the nerve of this loser. Well, I think you have me confused with one of your stupid followers, you have to follow what I say, or Bachan won't be happy, Naruto sing-songed the last part. Sasuke's scowl only deepened to hell with the old hag, I follow my own rules. Not anymore, those guys are here to make sure of that, Naruto said, while indicating to the Anbu on the roof of another building. HN. Sasuke cold retort to what he said. Naruto's eyes suddenly lit up and Sasuke had a terrible feeling in her stomach, Naruto quickly went to his bedroom and came back out with a pink apron. Hell no. Sasuke screeched as soon as she saw what Naruto was holding. Hey, don't blame me, blame Bachan, I think she's getting a little too into this, Naruto said thoughtfully. Well, screw you, Uzumaki. I don't care if I do die, I will not put that thing on. Sasuke spat. Hey, it's your choice, Naruto shrugged nonchalantly, then continued, I'm going to see Sakura-chan now, don't wait up for me, he didn't even wait for her to respond as he quickly dashed out of the room. Damn you, Naruto. Sasuke screamed, she was sure he probably didn't hear it. She looked around again and she couldn't stop the ugly snarl even if she wanted to, she didn't take orders, especially from the dope, that stupid team. This was his mess, she shouldn't clean up after someone else, she shouldn't clean up at all. She looked at the window and the Anbu still there, she was so angry that she actually flipped them off and then flopped on the couch, she will not clean, not for anyone and certainly not for the dope. Bastard. She hissed. Naruto was walking to Sakura's house in trepidation, Sakura had been distant with everyone, even her own parents, and that greatly worried the blonde, he knew the reason for her behavior, Sakura loved Sasuke, something Naruto loathed even now, she loved Sasuke so much that she made him promise to bring him back, which he didn't mind at all since Sasuke was their teammate. She must have been heartbroken when she realized that Sasuke was a girl as well. He walked carefully to Sakura's house, making sure not to be spotted by her parents. The Harano family did not like him, he didn't even know why, he never did anything bad to them, did he? Well, even so, he cared too much about Sakura to let her wallow in depression for the rest of her life. He quickly snuck to the back of the house and while walked to Sakura's window, he stopped immediately when he heard voices. "Sweetie, please talk to Kasen, I'm here, please talk to me." Naruto carefully looked inside Sakura's window and saw Mibuki rubbing Sakura's head gently, said girl was huddled on the bed. After a few more attempts, the mother gave off a frustrated sigh and then left her daughter in peace. Naruto took that opportunity to knock on Sakura's window. Sakura didn't give any indication to have heard the knock and Naruto had to change strategy. "Sakura-chan," Naruto whispered sharply. "Sakura-chan." Naruto continued. Sakura slowly looked at him, her eyes were glazed and unfocused, it was as if she was looking straight through him, that did not sit well with Naruto. "Sakura-chan, let me in." Last time she avoided him, so he prayed she won't now. For a long while Sakura didn't even move and Naruto felt like coming over another day, but then she stood up. Naruto kept his wide eyes on her as she made her way to the window and opened it. "Naruto," she sounded so lost, so confused, and Naruto grimaced when he heard the desperate tone. "Hey Sakura-chan, can we talk?" Naruto said seriously. Sakura didn't know what to say, so she settled for nodding her head and letting Naruto inside. Sasuke stared at the TV screen, she had long turned it off, she was in deep thought. Naruto would not be happy that she hadn't even made an effort to clean anything, she snorted, this shouldn't be her problem, if it wasn't for the old hag, then she would be training now, using the best jonin that the council could provide, including Kakashi. She briefly wondered where the Cyclops was. She hadn't seen him in the entire time she had been back in Konoha, maybe he went on a mission. She walked into the bathroom and saw the cleaning supplies, she bit her lip, Tsunade had informed her that if she caused any trouble, then she would be killed without question. She angrily turned around, stormed out of the bathroom, she will not submit. Her journey was cut short when a sense of doubt started to overtake her. No. She didn't care. Tsunade could do whatever she wanted. She stopped completely when she was just about to leave the bedroom. She had no choice but to weigh options. If she disobeyed, then she was sure Tsunade would come to do the killing herself. The thought made her shiver. If she decided to follow, then she would be subjugated to more, even worse, duties in the near future. But she would still live to tell the tale. She gritted her teeth when she realized her lack of options. Damn that bastard. She walked back into the bathroom and looked at the utensils. She bit her lip again. This was so embarrassing. "How are you?" Naruto asked awkwardly. Sakura just stared at her feet, her hair covering her eyes from view. I know what happened with Sasuke was terrible, Sakura. I know you loved him, I guess I can't relate to what you're going through," Naruto said. "It was different with me, I never liked Sasuke that way, he was more of just a teammate in the beginning of Team 7. Naruto looked at Sakura, her demeanor had not changed, but he could tell that she was listening. "No matter what we went through, Sasuke was always the team I hated to live with and could not live without," Naruto mused with a small smile. "We didn't like each other at first, but over time that all changed. Sasuke was like a brother to me, we had our ups and downs, but we always stuck together when it counted," Naruto continued. Sakura still hadn't moved, but Naruto could see her eyes again, they were slowly coming back to life, so he pressed on. "When he betrayed us, I felt hurt, you know, I felt angry, I mean why would he do that after everything we've been through?" Naruto asked and received no answer. "When we fought, I used everything I had, using my anger to aid me, but then I realized that was the wrong approach. When he struck my chest it made me realize something. I was regretful." This time Sakura was looking at him. "I felt regretful for not doing more for him, for not being there when all those dark thoughts came into his mind. For not being a friend when he needed one instead of people who obsessed over his Uchiha heritage," Naruto said sadly. Sakura was still just staring at him, Naruto gulped. "When I found out he was a girl, it didn't affect me that much, I guess it was mainly because gender didn't matter to me. Girl or boy, Sasuke Uchiha will always be a team," Naruto said, and then felt happy when Sakura smiled at him. "I know I can never understand how all this is affecting you, I don't love Sasuke, but I know how much it hurts when you know the love you have for someone else will never be returned, that it's only one-sided." He had to pause when he saw Sakura looking at him remorsefully, she knew what he was talking about. "Yeah, but you know what? It's okay, Ni-chan told me once that if you really love someone unconditionally then you want them to be happy, that's the most important thing to you," Naruto said. "What does that have to do with this?" Sakura whispered. "Sakura-chan, all I ever wanted was for you to be happy, even if it was with Sasuke in the end, I'd be happy for the both of you even if I felt hurt. Made me realize that I did love you unconditionally." Naruto it's okay, I know you don't feel the same way, what I'm trying to bring up is important, Sakura-chan, why did you love Sasuke? "You know the reasons, Naruto," Sakura said. No, all I know are the fangirl's reasons, Naruto said, then smiled sheepishly when Sakura frowned at him. Well, he had gone through so much at a young age, I wanted to be there and make him happy, Sakura said. Would you be happy for him if he ended up with another girl, Naruto asked. Sakura bit her lip. Would you be happy for the other girl? Naruto questioned. No, Sakura said honestly. Why? Naruto pressed. Because she ended up with him, Sakura said. That sounded so selfish, but it was the truth. No one ever said that love was easy to deal with. No one can fault you for that, but won't that upset him? The fact that you are not happy for him? Naruto asked. Yeah, but that still has nothing to do with Sasuke being a girl. Sakura said impatiently. I guess everything leads up to one question, did you love Sasuke unconditionally? Naruto asked. Yes, Sakura immediately answered. Even now, when she's a girl? Naruto asked. That's different, Naruto, Sakura said with a scowl. It doesn't have to be the same kind of love, hell you don't even have to like Sasuke at all now, but there is a reason why they call it unconditional love. Take your time in figuring this out, Sakura-chan, because you deserve to be happy. Think carefully about it, Sakura-chan. I'll see you later, Naruto said, and then promptly left Sakura's room, making sure to quietly leave through the window. He decided to let her figure out her feelings from there. AM really helped teach those kind of things, and he was grateful for that. He didn't get most of it, but he hoped he helped Sakura as best as he could. She needed to move on from this, she had to. He was making his way back to the apartment, not expecting much. If he knew Sasuke, then it was safe to say that his apartment was still a mess. He didn't really care for the mess, and he doubted he would be involved in Sasuke's death, but he hoped that it never came to that. He had forgotten that Tsunade had told him to be constantly watching Sasuke. Shit, he broke into a run, how could he forget? Tsunade was going to kill him, he just knew it. He dreaded the worst as he approached his apartment. Sasuke could be dead, she could have escaped, she could have killed somebody, all because he left her unattended. This sucked. He was slowly starting to regret ever accepting Tsunade's proposal. He ran into his apartment and then promptly slipped and fell on his back. You stupid idiot. I just cleaned that floor. Naruto looked up from his position and found himself staring at an irate Sasuke. What the hell did you do to this place? Naruto shouted in surprise when he stared at his clean apartment. I did something you could never comprehend, Naruto-kun, I cleaned, Sasuke snapped. Wow, you actually did, Naruto said in awe. DCH, it's not like I had much of a choice. Oh, by the way, Sasuke walked up and hauled Naruto to his feet. I never want to see a mess in here again, you hear me? Yeah. Naruto said confusedly. Good, she dropped him to the ground. Naruto was a bit dazed. He watched Sasuke as she walked over to the couch. That's when he spotted the apron she was wearing. You're wearing the apron? Naruto asked incredulously. Sasuke turned around and glared furiously at the blonde. You tell anyone of this, and I don't care if Tsunade punishes me, I will kill you, team, Sasuke snarled. What the hell? You don't get to call me team, you prick. Naruto snarled back. You moron, Sasuke dismissed and then sat on the sofa. Naruto looked around the apartment. Sasuke really did a good job, and he had to wonder how that was even possible. How did you do it? It's hard to believe that you could actually clean anything, Naruto said observantly. Iminichiha, Sasuke said, as if that was all it took to explain. Geez, Ichiha this, Ichiha that, do you ever get tired of sounding like a broken record? You'd annoy anyone to death with your cocky attitude, Naruto said irritably. What about you? Sasuke countered. What the hell are you talking about? Naruto frowned. Here you are chewing me out when you are the most cocky bastard anyone has ever met, Sasuke said. TCH, whatever. Naruto snapped. Oh, did I strike a nerve? What's wrong, my dear Naruto-kun? I'm here to listen, Sasuke said sarcastically. Naruto glared at her. I'm waiting, Sasuke said with a yawn. Screw you. Naruto shouted. No, screw you. Where do you get off, you hypocrite? Mouthing off on how full of myself I am. What about you, huh? Sasuke spat and then made her way until she inches away from him. Everything is just easy for you. You got everything handed to you on a silver platter. You didn't have to fight for everything like I did. You didn't have to start from the bottom like I did, with nothing. Naruto struggled not to lose his composure at the unwanted memories of his harsh childhood. You think it was easy for me, you bastard, you sorry excuse for a bastard. Try living a life where you see your family killed right in front of you. Where people are only interested in you because of what you can offer them. Living alone. Sasuke shouted out, damn it, these new emotions were getting harder to control. Try living mine, where everyone hated you in Konoha. People used to beat me, poison me, they always tried to kill me, but I never gave up, I always fought for their respect. You're a coward, always looking for the easy way out and refusing anyone that genuinely wants to be there for you. In the end, you chose to be alone. Slap. Sasuke couldn't hold her hand back even if she wanted to stop herself. She was shocked and a little horrified with what Naruto had been through, but she was more angry and upset at the accusations she was being put through. She stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door shut. Naruto brought his hand up to his left cheek, there was no doubt about it now, Sasuke was a girl, she could even slap like one. He sighed, he went too far with what he said, but Sasuke deserved it, she needed to see the truth, but he guessed he wasn't perfect, he didn't know what to do, should he apologize? He certainly felt like doing so, but now wasn't the time for it. If you guessed right, then Sasuke was upset and would truly attack him if he did anything now. He sighed and made his way to the couch. He didn't have a blanket, but he dared not to go into his bedroom. He would just have to settle for sleeping with no protection from the night's cold. He shrugged, he was used to stuff like this. Sasuke was on the bed, silently crying. She tried to get rid of the tears, but they wouldn't stop coming. She was upset at Naruto for the things he said. No one had ever told her anything like that, and she had to admit, it kind of hurt. He didn't know her, he didn't understand what she had been through, but she didn't know him either, she didn't even know that he suffered that greatly. She just thought he grew up alone. She tried to brush away the tears, but they still didn't stop. Bitches do not cry. She gritted out and then sniffed, it was hopeless. She looked at the nightstand and saw the Team 7 photo, in perfect condition. She was surprised when she saw it earlier in the same condition, clean and spotless. The photo was the only clean object in the apartment, and Sasuke had found herself asking why. It didn't make any sense, the apartment was a mess save the photo. Then it all hit her, he still cherished Team 7, he still cherished the times they had together. If Sasuke was in Naruto's shoes, then she would have promptly burned the photo, but she wasn't in Naruto's shoes. She found herself actually feeling sorry for her earlier words. She sighed, her first day of probation was a disaster, but it had made her a bit curious in Naruto. There were so many mysteries surrounding the boy, she decided not to think too much on it and get some sleep. She was not going to eat that disgusting broth called ramen. They would have to discuss the grocery list tomorrow. Tsunade had given them a substantial amount of money. All courtesy of the council. She looked down and realized that she didn't leave any blankets in the living room. She shouldn't care, let the dope sleep in the cold, he would deserve it. She looked at the bed and sighed again. She got up and made sure to take a blanket before making her way to the living room. She gave a sigh of relief when she saw him sleeping on the couch. It would have been awkward if he were awake. She draped the blanket over him and watched Naruto snuggle into the warmth. Her stomach felt funny at the sight. "Don't say I never did anything nice for you, dope," she all but whispered and got no reply from the sleeping blonde. She made her way into the bedroom again and shut the door with a soft click. The sun rose slowly in the village hidden in the leaf. Rays of different colors created a beautiful scenery. Konoha truly looked beautiful. People were starting to fill the streets and get to their duties quickly. The day looked very promising from anyone's perspective. Naruto had never enjoyed his stay in his rundown apartment in the beginning, but as time went on it was a custom that he welcomed wholeheartedly. The place wasn't much, it was relatively small, but it meant so much to him. It was a place that provided the luxury of shelter, something he very well knew was a precious human right. It was difficult to live in the apartment. With constant death threats and sometimes physical attacks on his birthday, ridiculous rent and water bills, shoddy deco, it wasn't a place one would call home, but he would fight to keep it if it meant not living on the streets. He was used to sleeping alone, I mean who would want to share a place with a demon? It was hard to be in constant solitude. He always sought what most people had, good friends. He wanted people that would come visit and stay for a sleepover or something, but those were just the fantasies of a lonely misunderstood boy. He slowly, groggily, opened his eyes. He didn't have to strain his brain because of his trusted muscle memory. He lazily got up from the couch, taking a brief note of the blanket, he yawned and stretched his limbs, then he went to the bedroom. He walked into the room and slowly undressed, not registering the sound of a shower being used. He walked to the nightstand and made sure that the Team 7 photo was still on it. Once that was settled, he removed the remainder of his clothing and then made his way into the bathroom. He yawned again and then made his way to the shower door, ignoring the alarm bells ringing in his head. He hadn't allowed his brain to fully adjust to the waking world, so at the moment he was still running on autopilot. He approached the shower door casually and then opened it. Steam clouded his vision, but it was of no consequence to him. Nothing harmful was happening, so there wasn't a need to be alert yet. He started to enter, but froze when he heard a gasp that came from inside the shower. He tiredly squinted his eyes to get a clear look on what had caused that noise. Maybe he was just hearing things. His train of thought was stopped when he gazed into Onyx's eyes. He analyzed the figure up and down, and then looked at the face again, which was sporting a huge blush. Onyx's eyes also took in his form, and the blush only intensified. It seemed that time had stopped as the two stared at each other. It only took mere seconds for Naruto's brain to start functioning, and when it did Naruto's eyes widened, he realized that he was naked, and Sasuke was naked. Ahhh. Birds flew away in fear of the scream, it sounded like someone had made a horrific discovery. What was that? Tsunade asked in alarm from her office. I'm not sure, do you think we should investigate? Shizune asked nervously. No, we have a lot of work to do, Tsunade said seriously and stared at the stacks of paperwork that needed her attention. Naruto was sitting at the kitchen table, fully clothed. He chastised himself for walking in on a naked Sasuke and for also screaming like a girl. He had run out of the bathroom like a bat out of hell. This had to be one of the most embarrassing things that he ever had to endure. He was actually dreading what Sasuke would do when she came out of the bedroom. As a woman she had every right to seek justice for his acts, damn Sasuke. Why couldn't she have given him a hint or something? He had to fight off the images of Sasuke's naked and wet body out of his mind before perverted thoughts started to overtake him. He was blushing up a storm. He had never seen a naked girl before, not in detail, and, damn it, stop thinking about it. He heard the bedroom door open and he nervously gulped. Anbu could never protect him from a scorned woman. His back was to the bedroom door, but it did very little to shake his fears. When he heard footsteps approaching, he prayed to Kami that his death would be quick and painless. When he felt Sasuke pass him, he took a hesitant glance up and was surprised to see Sasuke, fully clothed, and looking over the food they had. Naruto just stared at her. If she knew he was staring, then she was doing a good job on acting oblivious. She was looking through all the food cabinets, assessing everything and then scowling at his ramen. He kind of took offense to her attitude concerning his food. She looked like she disgusted in what she was seeing. She took a scroll with a brush and proceeded to write something. He couldn't exactly see from his vantage point. He felt awkward. This whole situation was awkward. He expected her to attack him. Right now he was a bit confused in her behavior, but he dared not voice that out. Sasuke had finished writing and then looked at Naruto with indifference. She walked up to him and saw him visibly flinch. Stupid dope. She put the scroll on the table and waited for him to shake off his nervous demeanor and look at the scroll. Naruto looked at Sasuke and then the scroll and then Sasuke again. Said girl only raised a brow at him. What is it? Naruto sputtered out. He was fully prepared for a beatdown. Grocery list, Sasuke stated simply. Wah, Naruto looked at her in bewilderment. Sasuke rolled her eyes. If I'm going to be living here, then I'm not going to eat that crap you call food. Naruto looked at her weirdly. You only have ramen, I will not stand for that. There is plenty of money for fresh and healthy produce. You can wither away in your food obsession if you want, but I will not be joining you, Sasuke stated seriously. Aren't you mad at me? He couldn't help but blurted out. The thought had been gnawing at him. Sasuke rolled her eyes again. She wasn't some stupid girl who would throw a fit just because Naruto saw her naked. She struggled not to blush at the thought. It never happened, Sasuke said with finality. But you. It never happened. Sasuke stated more firmly. How dense could Naruto get? Okay. Naruto said awkwardly. He still felt like resolving the issue, but it seemed like Sasuke was upset enough. He looked at the grocery list again, taking care to look at its contents, and he frowned. Mushrooms? Naruto asked incredulously. Most of the stuff on the list were vegetables and fruits, some were of different meats and poultry. I, for one, care about my body dope, Sasuke said. Dude, this stuff is nasty. Naruto said disgustedly. No, that is nasty. Sasuke retorted, indicating to the stacks of instant ramen. No, it's not. Naruto bit back. I don't have time to have petty arguments with you, Sasuke dismissed, then made her way to the front door. She stopped and then looked back at Naruto. Naruto stared at her still form. He was again reminded of the argument they had last night and he didn't know if he should bring it up and apologize or just leave it as it was. He was snapped out of his thoughts when he saw Sasuke fold her arms. She looked impatient. Naruto couldn't understand it. The only thing that indicated this girl being Sasuke were the eyes and face. And even that was still a stretch. Dope. Sasuke shouted. What? Naruto said irritably. You have all the money and you're supposed to be my caretaker, Sasuke informed. So? Naruto asked carelessly. You really are stupid. Do you expect me to go to the markets without any form of currency? Sasuke stared at Naruto as if he was the biggest loser on earth. Oh, Naruto didn't like that jab but conceded to go with Sasuke. The girl needed food and it was obvious that she would rather die than have his ramen. The journey to the markets was met with silence. No one had anything to say to each other. They had never really talked so casually before. Naruto found it hard to bring a subject up. Sasuke didn't care for conversation. She just had to get through this. Naruto knew that they were not on friendly terms, it was obvious, but he realized that he knew close to nothing about her, so he decided to at least give it a shot and get to know his roommate. So, Naruto came up with blanks. He couldn't think of anything to say. He always had something to say. Sasuke just glanced at him then looked back in front of her. Since we're going to be living together from now on then I think we need to get to know each other, Naruto said. Sasuke looked at him and gave him a smirk. You think I want to get to know a pathetic loser like you? Naruto glared at her. You're not worth my time, dope. I don't do light conversations. You'd do everyone a world of good if you stop talking too much. You know what, just shut your mouth period, Sasuke dismissed swiftly. Naruto gritted his teeth, and he actually thought that this experience would help change Sasuke for the better. Fine, Naruto said in anger and then stared in front of him. That's the last time he would try to get to know this prick. Sasuke saw the anger in Naruto, and she had to adamantly convince herself that she did the right thing. They approached the market center, and Sasuke gave Naruto the scroll. I know what to buy, you don't. Use the scroll to find the right product, just focus on the vegetables, I'll handle everything else. When you're done meet me back here, Sasuke said. Naruto went deeper into the market without a word. Sasuke's mouth formed a thin line, she could tell that he was still upset with what she said, and she didn't know what to feel about it. She was a bit confused. Naruto was never the one to draw into prolonged anger. She quickly brushed off the thought before it turned serious. She started looking for the right foods, making sure to take necessities as well as indulgence. This food would be good for her, hell she might even force Naruto to eat it. Everything seemed to be going fine, nobody seemed to know of who she really was, and she kind of felt relieved at that. If people found out that she was a female, then there would be no telling what would happen. She could sense the Anbu nearby, but she didn't care. It wasn't like she would be causing trouble anytime soon. She never saw the punch that came and hit her directly on the face, sending her flying until she crashed into a food stand. Finally found you, bitch. When Shikamaru told me that you were female I couldn't believe it, but he would never lie to me on something serious like this, but I know your face anywhere, even if it looks like a girl's. Sasuke looked up and found herself staring at a fuming Ino. So all this time you led us to believe that you were a guy. Then you betray us and think you can just walk in here like nothing ever happened, Ino screamed in fury. How is that any of your business? Sasuke said annoyedly. You fucking bitch. Choji nearly died because of you. A small crowd was gathered to view the bizarre spectacle, some not believing their eyes. Newsflash, I never did anything to that fat meathead, besides, it was his fault for a hard kick to the stomach cut off her statement. I can't believe I used to love you, a fake. You're disgusting. Ino shouted as she kicked Sasuke again, said girl was still on the ground. Sasuke grunted in pain, her wounds were not fully healed, and the stupid blonde was making her condition worse. She got up and prepared to attack Ino, but then froze when she saw the Anbu situated on the rooftops. She realized, to her dismay, that she couldn't fight back or risk getting killed. Ino took that opportunity to punch Sasuke in the gut and then knee the Uchiha in the chin, putting everything into her anger-driven attack. Sasuke doubled over in pain and was met with a kick straight to the face. She spit out blood, her body was being mercilessly assaulted. The crowd was too shocked to do anything against the blonde kunoichi. They'll kill you. Her rant was stopped when someone shoved her away from the battered Uchiha. What the hell are you doing? Naruto screamed in anger. What do you think, you idiot? Nobody else is willing to do the right thing. Sasuke doesn't deserve to just walk around like she never did a thing to Konoha. Ino shouted in anger. There was a pause before gasps started going around in the crowd. Naruto grimaced when he saw the look of recognition in the crowd, so now they knew it was Sasuke, or at least they were curious if Ino's claim was true. He quickly went to Sasuke and tried to help her get up, but she angrily slapped his hands away. Don't touch me. Sasuke hissed in pain and anger. Naruto was surprised at the tone. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. I'm an Uchiha. I don't need this pathetic village. Sasuke hissed furiously. She struggled to get on her own feet. When she finally did, she tried to numb the pain. Still want more? No problem. Ino advanced on the girl, but she was stopped by Naruto. Sasuke wiped her mouth of blood, the metallic taste numbing her taste buds. Her body had numerous cuts and bruises, courtesy of the blonde banshee. She looked around and saw the crowd looking at her in pure shock. If they didn't know who she was before, then they certainly did now. She looked at the dope and was momentarily shocked to the core. He was holding Ino back. But that wasn't what shocked her. He was looking at her, and his eyes were cold, emotionless. It forced a shiver out of her. She had never seen Naruto look so coldly towards her, even when they fought at the Valley of the End. He looked like he didn't care anymore. He looked like someone who had given up. He looked like he lost any concern he had towards her. Sasuke couldn't take it anymore. She quickly limped away from the crowd. She wished she could have run. Damn it, Naruto. Why are you protecting her, huh? Ino said as she wrenched away from Naruto. I can't believe you, Ino. What the hell were you thinking? Naruto asked seriously. Isn't it obvious? Ino bit back. Bachan isn't going to be happy about this, Naruto said thoughtfully. What do you? Ino looked at the crowd and finally realized her mistake. Konoha was not supposed to know of Sasuke's return and new gender yet. Shikamaru had told her that much. Well, shit. Sasuke had made it to the apartment, albeit with difficulty. She knew that if she went to the hospital then she would not be welcomed. Tsunade was very strict. It was hard to get back to the apartment without incident. A lot of people looked at her wide-eyed. Before she could even make it to Naruto's home, she limped through the bedroom and into the bathroom. She looked at the mirror and couldn't help but grimace. "I look like hell," she mused painfully. Her hair was all over the place. An ugly bruise was forming on her right cheek, and there was a cut on her forehead. Her body fared no better. She shakily opened the medicine cabinet behind the bathroom mirror. It was difficult to move with the pain. She could blame most of the injuries to the chakra suppression seals. They made her body much more weaker and less tolerant to physical harm. She could tell that her left arm was still bleeding badly. She could barely hold on to the healing ointment in her hand. She bit her lip and tried to steady herself. She trembled as she tried to open the container. She briefly thought of the fight she had with Ino. Well, it was only one-sided, so she guessed she should just call it a beatdown. That bitch really knew how to lay it out when she was angry. If it hadn't been for the Anbu then Ino would have been in the hospital right now. The moment she thought of Naruto she dropped the ointment onto the floor. She hissed in pain as she crouched on her knees to pick it up. Naruto's eyes, cold and lifeless, all because of her. The thought alone made her eyes burn. She had never seen him look like that. Those eyes that sparkled with mischief looked at her like she an enemy, like she was a stranger, and for the first time since she was brought back to Konoha Sasuke felt truly alone. He wasn't going to come and have stupid fights with her anymore. He wasn't going to ramble on about how great he was and how he will be Hokage one day. Maybe he would have those conversations and squabbles, but not with her. Tears gathered in her eyes. Her hand was trembling so much that she couldn't pick the ointment up. She couldn't even put any bandages on her wounds. Her body started shaking. The pain and hopelessness was slowly starting to eat away at her. She gritted her teeth and tried to reach for bandages, but her hand slipped on the basin and she fell back on her knees. She forced herself to quickly grab the ointment and then hissed in pain. Damn it. She didn't need anyone. She didn't need him. She didn't. Sasuke yelped in surprise when a hand took the container she was holding. She looked up and saw Naruto kneeling next to her. Naruto gently took the ointment out of her hand and quickly took out some bandages from the cabinet. He could feel Sasuke's eyes on him the entire time. He opened the ointment and started tending to Sasuke's wounds, ignoring the frown she sent him. "I said I don't." Sasuke was cut off with Naruto looking at her sternly. "Shut up," he ordered, then continued to tend to her. Sasuke kept quiet throughout the entire process. She didn't even protest when he told her that he needed to put the medicine on every part of her body, so she needed to take off his shirt and pants. She ended up in her bra panties while he dealt with her. Naruto made sure not to stray his vision on intimate areas. This was as far as he could go to tending to her wounds. He will not have her naked. It was already awkward enough. Sasuke had to admit she was intimidated with Naruto's serious demeanor. Where was the obnoxious idiot? It was as if Naruto could switch between two personas with a snap of a finger. It made her wonder if the Naruto she knew was real at all, or just a mask hiding something. She could see that Naruto was almost done and she started to panic. Was this it? Was he just going to heal her and then be done with it, be done with him? Does he really hate her? "I'm sorry," she blurted out in a whisper. Naruto looked at her weirdly. "What are you apologizing for?" "For what I said before," Sasuke said carefully. She hid her nervousness quite well. "Oh, I thought Uchihas didn't make mistakes like that. Uchihas are perfect." Sasuke frowned. "Ouch. Well, don't worry about it. It's pretty obvious that I can never be worthy enough to be in your presence." Naruto made to leave, but was stopped with a hand suddenly grabbing firmly to his arm. "Look, I didn't mean it like that," Sasuke said. "Whatever," Naruto said, and then tore his arm out of her grip. "I said I was sorry, dope. You don't have to be such a prick about it." Sasuke spat when she saw him leave the bathroom. She sighed. The atmosphere in the apartment was tense. Naruto was in the living room while Sasuke occupied the bedroom. Naruto felt like laughing right now. The only thing that they got out of the day was Ino kicking Sasuke's ass. He was still upset with Sasuke for her earlier words, but he had time to deal with the feelings, so he wasn't as angry as he was before. He kind of felt sorry for her. Which he shouldn't but did. She was practically alone now and a target for people to vent their anger. Ino was proof of that. He should feel angry at Sasuke's betrayal, but if he had to be honest, he didn't, not anymore. His feelings towards her betrayal eventually subsided to indifference. Living with her was proving to be a problem though. Her attitude was still the same stuck-up Uchiha visage. It was difficult not to think of asking Tsunade to provide another caretaker for Sasuke. It was hard for them to even stand each other right now. He heard the bedroom door open and sighed. He didn't need another fight now. He decided not to do anything, even when she stood next to him. He made no indication to be even aware of her presence. After a few minutes he heard her sigh and then cough. What she said next shocked him. "Naruto," his head whipped in her direction. He stared at Sasuke in surprise. In the rarity that Sasuke had actually used his name, he had never heard her say it like that, so, nervously. She shifted nervously, and Naruto did a double take in the change of demeanor. I'm sorry, Sasuke bit her lip. You already said that, Naruto said with a frown. He didn't know how to deal with the apology, because it was actually the first time he had ever heard Sasuke apologize, to him in particular, but now he didn't know what she looked like. I know, but I mean it, it was never easy for me growing up, Sasuke said. You're not the only one, Naruto retorted. Yeah, I kind of figured that out from yesterday's conversation, Sasuke said. Yeah, I'm sorry too. So does that mean we're goody-goody friends now? Sasuke asked sarcastically and silently sighed when Naruto looked at her with scowl. Your attitude bounces back pretty quickly Mesu, Naruto said annoyedly, and then looked away from her. That's who I am, Sasuke shrugged, she was glad to see that familiar sparkle of life in his eyes. Is it really? Naruto asked, eyes boring into her. While Sasuke was stopped from voicing her question by a knock on the door, she really wanted to know what he meant, but she needed to deal with the visitor. She walked to the door and opened it, she was a bit surprised to see Jiraiya. No way, don't tell me that the Gaki finally found himself a girl, Jiraiya teased with a perverted grin. Sasuke just gave him a flat look and limped back to Naruto. A lot of thoughts were going through Jiraiya's mind when he saw the girl's disheveled form, none of those thoughts were innocent. Hiro-sennin, what are you doing here? Naruto asked in surprise, he was even more surprised when Sasuke sat right next to him. You know why I'm here kid, Jiraiya stated seriously. Naruto gulped and then looked at Sasuke. Hey Sasuke, I think you should leave us alone, Naruto said. So that was Sasuke, Jiraiya had been told of the situation by Tsunade, but to actually see it for himself was a different story, it was weird, he actually thought that she was Naruto's girlfriend, but that wasn't the case, he sighed in disappointment. Why? Sasuke raised a suspicious eyebrow. It's a serious talk. Naruto retorted with a glare. What are you hiding? Sasuke glared back, she didn't know much about him, but the dope looked too suspicious for her. None of your business, Naruto said. We live in the same roof, whatever you two are talking about can include me, Sasuke said while folding her arms. Please, Sasuke looked at Naruto and saw the desperate expression, she was surprised, Naruto really looked vulnerable, she had half a mind to agree with his request, but something stopped her. No, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, Sasuke said softly, trying to provide a sort of reassuring message, which the blonde didn't pick up. Jiraiya was shocked, Tsunade had told him that Sasuke didn't care about anyone but herself, but he didn't live this long without picking up a few skills on the way, he could see it, Sasuke was concerned about Naruto, she could hide it from the blonde, but not a Sannin, it seemed like the Uchiha wanted to stick around to provide some sort of support to the Gaki, Jiraiya had to admit, that was new. Look Sasuke. It's alright Naruto, maybe it's best that she knows too, Jiraiya said. Are you crazy old man, Naruto shouted. It was bound to happen sooner or later kid, you can't hide it from your friends forever, Jiraiya said. Jiraiya noticed that Naruto didn't deny being Sasuke's friend, which was another surprise. Sasuke noticed it too, but couldn't figure out what it meant. Well Naruto started I might have to go on a 3-year training trip. What? Sasuke asked calmly. I might have go on a 3-year training trip, Naruto repeated. Why? Sasuke immediately asked, she was a bit surprised with how put off she sounded. He needs to be prepared, there are people looking for him, bad people, Jiraiya said. People looking for the dope? Sasuke asked incredulously. Yes, however I cannot tell you why, it's his choice. Jiraiya stated seriously while indicating to Naruto. Sasuke looked at Naruto expectantly. I'm sorry Sasuke, but I can't tell you yet, Naruto said nervously. Sasuke frowned at the statement but did her best to hide her frustration. What about my probation, you're supposed to be my caretaker, and you just going to leave? Sasuke glared at the blonde, this wasn't about any feelings they shared, she didn't want to end up in prison, or worse, dead. Relax, the trip hasn't been finalized yet, and there is a chance that Naruto will stay here for his training, if that happens, then we would have to do his training a bit away from the village, if we go on our mission, then you will be assigned another caretaker, Jiraiya said. Sasuke was not content with that statement, she already had enough problems dealing with Naruto, it would be 10 times worse dealing with someone else. Whatever decision is made will be in the best interest of the Gaki, well I gotta go, try not to get too crazy you two, Jiraiya teased, then promptly jumped out of the apartment window. He does realize that the door could also be used to leave this place, right? Sasuke asked with a straight face. Naruto shrugged and then sighed when Sasuke glared at him. So, you're going on a training trip with a Sannin. Sasuke tried to hide the jealousy in her voice, not only will Naruto keep training, but thanks to Jiraiya, he would be stronger than her, that wasn't fair. It might or might not happen, look, I don't like this either okay? Naruto said honestly. Why would you like it? It has so many benefits for you stupid, Sasuke said irritably. Well, I promised myself that I would look after you, Naruto said softly. Sasuke paused when she heard that, she could tell that he wasn't trying to demean her in any way. You can deny it all you want, but I know this is what you need, and I want to help you, Naruto said. Sasuke looked at her lap, she didn't expect that from the dope, and she didn't know what to say. I know that we're not exactly on the same page, but I want to be there for you, even after everything that has happened between us. She could tell that he wasn't lying, and that made her uneasy. You stupid dope, you have a huge opportunity and you're worried about me. Did you forget who put a Chidori through your chest? Sasuke asked incredulously. Did you forget Wo's Rasengan disabled you? Naruto countered. Sasuke glared at him. You're an idiot. Sasuke got up and made her way to the bedroom. It's not even late, Naruto said in surprise. I need to allow these wounds to heal, you moron, Sasuke said, and then shut the bedroom door. Naruto sighed. Living with Sasuke was very difficult indeed. There was a lot of bad blood between them, and it seemed like they could never find common ground without resulting to fighting each other. Then there was the training trip that Jiraiya had offered. He didn't want to go. To him, making sure that Sasuke became better was more important than a stupid training trip. Sasuke was in the room laying on the bed, staring at the ceiling. It didn't make any sense. Naruto hated her, right? After everything she did, she knew a lot of people hated her, but it didn't seem like Naruto was one of them. Why? She couldn't help but wonder, why was he willing to go so far for her? She understood that on some level they were the same, they both had no one to call family. Itachi didn't count for her, they both shared a similar childhood, only she wasn't beaten up by the villagers. That thought still plagued her to no end. The villagers, people who worship the ground she walked on, beat up Naruto. The dobe had a knack for pranking, but even Sasuke knew he didn't deserve to suffer like that. She was curious, but it didn't seem like a subject to bring up. She sighed yet again, her life could never be any harder. She was weak now, a lot weaker than before, thanks to these chakra suppression seals Tsunade put on her. She couldn't access her curse mark without experiencing unbearable pain. Itachi was becoming an even bigger obstacle every day. She had tried to think of ways to receive training in secrecy, but all possible scenarios ended badly for her. 2 years was a very long time. She could have gotten real stronger if she was using that period to train, but no such luck. Her thoughts then strayed back to the dope, and Sasuke found herself giving off a frustrated sigh. He was someone that was on her mind most of the time. She could never shake off the thoughts for too long, because they would always come back. Why the hell was he haunting her? He was always in her thoughts and dreams, and she couldn't fathom the reason why. Maybe she was going insane. I know that we're not exactly on the same page, but I want to be there for you, even after everything that has happened between us. Those exact words made her feel funny. She couldn't place the feeling at all, but she did feel lightheaded when she heard him say that. She wasn't used to feelings of such caliber, so she did what was natural, berate Naruto for his idiocy. It was stupid. Why would he give up a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity just to stick around someone who had tried to kill him? The more she thought about, the worse she felt. She couldn't deny it anymore. She felt guilty. Naruto had given her an honest and open statement, and she admonished him for it. He even helped her with her wounds. Yeah, she sucked with feelings. I didn't ask him to, she stubbornly retorted. It didn't take long for her words to seem empty and hollow. The more she looked at it, the more she realized that Naruto was putting a lot on the line by keeping her here. His friends and comrades will not be happy. Hell, the villagers will be furious. Once they put 2 and 2 together, he was risking a lot just to have her in his home. Arg, stupid guilt. She got up from the bed and made her to the door. She opened it just enough to see Naruto, sitting on the couch and watching TV. He seemed so distracted, and Sasuke found herself wondering when she had started to care. Hey dope, she called softly, but since the apartment was small, Naruto could hear her loud and clear. Naruto responded while continuing to watch TV. Thanks. There was a huge pause after that. Naruto was looking at her like she grew a second head, and Sasuke mentally kicked herself. Subtle much. She felt embarrassed as it was. Naruto didn't have to look at her like that. She really hoped he wouldn't want any details on what she was thankful for. She bit her lip in anticipation. Sure Sasuke, Naruto said after he regained his bearings. He was shocked to the core. Not only did Sasuke apologize, but she thanked him too, all in one day. Had hell finally froze over? Sasuke nodded. She was glad he accepted her gratitude. She closed the door gently. Naruto was still in a semi-state of shock as he looked at the TV screen. Sasuke would have never said those things before. What did it mean? Did that mean he was slowly starting to see the real her and her stupid Uchiha mask? He knew all about fake personas. He lived with one almost all his life. The fake smiles, the fake happiness, all shields from the harsh words and acts of the villagers. When he had looked at Sasuke after she had apologized and after she had thanked him, he saw something alarming. Sasuke looked vulnerable on both occurrences. He saw it in her eyes. All his life he thought that Sasuke was nothing more than an egotistic prick, but that wasn't the case a few minutes ago. For the first time in Naruto's life, he could admit to seeing some semblance of who the real Sasuke was, and he couldn't help the curiosity that came with that discovery. Did Sasuke really have a mask to shield her too? If so, then why? She was treated as a hero, none of the villagers had ever treated her badly, so why the mask? It didn't make any sense to Naruto. He wanted to know, he wanted her to tell him, but now wasn't a good time. She was still healing from her injuries, and Naruto knew she didn't need extra baggage. He decided to try it tomorrow. He wanted to know who the real Sasuke Uchiha was. So do you mind telling me why I have to deal with civilian complaints under the curiosity that Sasuke Uchiha is not only in Konoha, but in fact is a female as well? Tsunade questioned in her familiar Hokage demeanor. Ino looked nervously at Shikamaru. She felt like kicking herself for letting her anger get the best of her, and she didn't know how to reply to the leader of their village. Ino looked at the ground. Shikamaru had told her that Tsunade had requested her presence, but she knew that it was a borderline order. Now here she was, with Shikamaru, in the Hokage's office. It was a mistake on my part, Hokage-sama. I felt it was right for all those who were affected by the retrieval mission to know the truth, Shikamaru put in when he saw that Ino was struggling to speak. When I gave permission to relay information to your comrades, I trusted your judgment as a chunin in handling the matter delicately, a mistake on my part. However, I am very disappointed in you particularly, Ino. Tsunade turned to the nervous girl. I'm sorry, Hokage-sama, Ino stuttered out. You have the right to be upset on the situation, but to recklessly create commotion is unbecoming of a kunoichi, Tsunade admonished. Ino cold retort because she knew she would only make things worse for herself. You will not be punished for your acts, but I will not be so forgiving a second time. Shikamaru, I want you to relay this message to everyone else who is aware of this predicament. Sasuke Uchiha will not be harmed by anyone. The situation is a council matter. No one must participate. There will be repercussions if these words are not heeded. Tsunade was very serious with this. She had enough to deal with, and she did not like additional problems. Yes, Hokage-sama, Shikamaru bowed and then promptly left with a meek Ino in tow. Once they left the Hokage's office, Shikamaru turned his attention to the young Yamanaka. Ino, Shikamaru started. I'm sorry, Shika, okay? I was just so angry. I mean, not only was Sasuke a traitor, but he wasn't even a guy. Ino cut in. Not good enough, Ino. We're all mad at what Sasuke did, but letting our personal feelings cause havoc and create unnecessary attention isn't good for us, nor Tsunade-sama. Got it? Shikamaru said. Yeah, Ino grumbled. I just think it's so coincidental that you started hating Sasuke the moment I told you that he was a girl, Shikamaru said. Ino looked at him wide-eyed and then scowled. No, Shikamaru, it was not like that. Even if Sasuke was a guy, I won't like him anymore. Do you really think that little of me? Ino asked in anger. She was hurt that he would just deem her like some sort of mindless follower. She was in love with Sasuke, but that it immediately ended when she saw what he had put Shikamaru and Choji through. She wasn't some stupid fangirl. Well, not anymore at least. Yeah, I guess you're right, sorry, I kind of ran to conclusions there, Shikamaru said lazily. Ino frowned at him, but she could understand where he was coming from, so she decided not to lecture him on how idiotic that idea was. Sasuke woke up in a cold sweat. Those dreams were plaguing her again. It was as if they were mocking her, telling her over and over that she nearly killed Naruto. Well, technically she did, but he was still alive and well. She just didn't get what the whole thing meant. Was it some sort of sign for the worst? Why was she even affected by it? The only time she was ever affected so greatly was when she had to relive her family being killed repeatedly from her nightmares and Itachi himself. She looked around the bedroom. It was spotless. Well, it had to be. She was an Uchiha, not a slob. She had to learn to look after herself in the Uchiha compound. At least solitude taught her responsibility when it came to maintaining a neat atmosphere. She briefly wondered why Naruto was different. He was a pig, a lazy pig, and she found herself on more than one occasion questioning his sanity. Why couldn't he clean up after himself? Why did she have to remind him? She could have summed it up to the fact that he grew up literally alone and had no exposure to proper manners and etiquette. She understood that, but that did not excuse his antics. The one thing she disliked was doing something for someone else forcibly, but she absolutely hated voluntarily helping someone with trivial matters. Naruto was no exception. Her thoughts were cut off with her stomach starting to grumble. She sighed and carefully got out of bed. The injuries Ino had administered were still in the process of healing. She walked slowly out of the bedroom and saw Naruto still sleeping on the couch. She guessed it was okay for him since it was too early. The sun had not even risen yet. She walked to his sleeping form and saw that he had discarded the blanket and now he was just sprawled on the couch, snoring loudly to the world. She rolled her eyes and passed him. She approached the kitchen, ignoring the Anbu outside. She wondered if they had lives of their own, then promptly squashed the idea. They belonged to the Hokage. She looked at the cabinets in trepidation. They were not able to shop for any fresh foods, so every area except the fridge was most likely filled with ramen. She knew she had no choice. She was too hungry to care. She opened one cabinet door, expecting the worst, and suddenly reeled from shock. There wasn't any ramen at all. In fact, it was filled with a large variety of foods. She couldn't believe her eyes as she checked more cabinets and was met with similar results. Where the hell was all the ramen? It's not like she cared, but it couldn't have disappeared overnight. She looked at one of the smaller cabinets, which she hadn't opened. For a few minutes all she did was stare at it and then decided to see what was inside. She didn't know why, but she gave a sigh of relief when she saw ramen in it. It wasn't a significant amount, but it was ramen nonetheless. She couldn't help it, she was shocked. How did all this food get in here? Naruto had called the food she listed nasty. If he did this, then why? She didn't know what to feel. She was still adjusting to new emotions that would lash out at any given moment. If Naruto did do this, for her specifically, then she felt conflicted with herself. She didn't know what to do. Should she thank him or act indifferent to it all? She would have never considered showing someone open gratitude so readily before, but now she felt some sort of need to do so. She quickly shook her head. She didn't want to entertain such thoughts. She opened the fridge and saw fruits and vegetables, along with little other treats as well. She just couldn't believe that Naruto did this. When did he have the time, especially without her knowing? She took out a few items from the fridge and started to make a salad. It wasn't because she was on a diet or she didn't like to eat too much. The salad would be just a little snack of the early morning, just a little something to entice her taste buds. After she was done eating, she let out a content sigh. It had been too long since she had anything so fresh and delectable. She looked outside the window and could see the early rays of the sun. She looked at Naruto and stared for just a few moments longer. After some time she realized that she was staring too long and quickly shook her head. What the hell was becoming of her? Ogling Naruto. She smacked herself. She was not ogling the dope. She stood up and approached Naruto. It would soon be time to wake up and she was getting annoyed with his snoring. "Hey dope, wake up," Sasuke said none too gently and shook the blonde. Mizo, Naruto mumbled as he ignored Sasuke's attempts. Sasuke looked at Naruto irritably. Even in his sleep he was still thinking of his stupid ramen. "Naruto," Sasuke called loudly. The response was immediate. Naruto shot to his feet, spewed out something along the lines of a ramen attack, and looked around with wide eyes. His gaze landed on Sasuke, and for a moment he looked terrified, and then he relaxed. He flopped on the couch and looked at the ceiling. "What time is it?" Naruto asked tiredly with a yawn. "Nearly sunrise," Sasuke answered. "What the hell? Why did you wake me up so early in the morning?" Naruto asked irritably. At first Sasuke didn't know how to answer the question herself, but then she remembered the fresh stock of food and decided to focus on that. "Did you buy all that food?" Sasuke asked while gesturing to the open cabinets. Naruto looked at her weirdly and then looked at the cabinets full of food and exhaled a tired sigh. "Yeah," he said after a while. "How? When? Where?" Sasuke immediately asked. How come she wasn't aware of his activities? "Yesterday, you were sleeping and I saw the grocery list on the couch, so I just went back to the market district and hinged into a civilian. It was pretty easy to get everything with the help of a cage bunshin." Naruto shrugged as if it was nothing. "Why?" Sasuke asked incredulously. "It was the stuff that you wanted, right?" Naruto asked. Sasuke nodded her head numbly. "Then that's why I did it," Naruto said simply. Sasuke could only look at him in shock. He did something for her without asking for anything in return. Naruto got to his feet and started going to the bathroom. "Thanks." It was the second time that she found herself thanking him earnestly. Well, it was only courtesy. It wasn't as if it meant anything, right? "I'm your caretaker, it's my job, I guess." He felt something funny when he heard Sasuke thank him. He chalked it off to a stomachache or something. Sasuke sat at the couch and started watching TV. Naruto soon came out of the bedroom with a clean jumpsuit, most likely done with his morning routine. "Don't you have anything else other than that jumpsuit?" Sasuke asked with a raised eyebrow. Naruto frowned at her. "Hey. I like this jumpsuit," Naruto said, offended by the silent jab. "Well, it sucks, it makes you a visible target, you moron, you can easily be spotted and killed," Sasuke said swiftly. "TCH. It hasn't got me killed," Naruto said annoyedly. "Not yet, but it might," Sasuke said impassively. "Whatever. Anyway, I thought about Iro Sennin's proposal," Naruto said seriously. "And what have you decided?" Sasuke asked curiously with a hint of uncertainty. The sensible thing would be for him to seek training away from Konoha, but she was a little nervous of the position that would leave her in. If he left, then who would be her new caretaker? She could think of no one in mind that would benefit her. The hopeless village followers might find some way to rape her if she was given to them. The people that hated her now might torture her if she was thrust to their care. Right now it didn't seem like things were looking good for her without the dope. "I'm refusing to leave the village," Naruto said. "Jiraiya told me that there were people after you, are they dangerous?" Sasuke asked curiously. Naruto hesitated before he answered. He didn't want to give away the fact that Itachi was one of those people after him for two reasons. The first would be the fact that she would start asking questions which he had no answers for. The second reason would be the fact that he might have to reveal his secret. He did not like either scenarios, so he settled for yep, really dangerous. Sasuke sensed the hesitation and narrowed her eyes. "Who are these people?" Sasuke asked. "Sasuke, please, I really don't want to talk about this," Naruto pleaded. "Why? What are you hiding from me?" Sasuke asked suspiciously. "You know, everything is not about you," Naruto retorted. Sasuke could see that he was on the defensive about whatever he was hiding, so she decided not to pry further. "If these people are dangerous, then it's best that you do leave Konoha," Sasuke said indifferently. "Look, I just can't. You're being stupid again. If you stay here then you will be endangering every worthless villager. If these people come here then they could attack innocent villagers. I don't care about them, you shouldn't too. I'm just giving you my opinion on the matter. Do whatever your idiotic brain suggests," Sasuke said evenly. "Why shouldn't I care about the villagers?" Naruto asked curiously. "Grow up. They put you through hell, or was your little confession just a lie?" Sasuke said critically. "It wasn't a lie, and maybe they did put more through a lot, but I still want to protect them because I'm going to be Hokage one day and a Hokage looks after his village." "Believe it," Naruto said seriously. "You're such an idiot," Sasuke dismissed. "Oh yeah, I thought of something I can use you for," Naruto said mischievously. Sasuke didn't like that look in his eyes for a second. "And what is that?" Sasuke asked. "Well, I never been around a girl like this before and my Warrick no Jutsu needs a little more detail to Lu. I am not undressing for your stupid perverted mind." Sasuke screeched in woman fury. She knew where Naruto was going with his idea and she did not want to strip for his disgusting fantasies. "Hey. I'm not a pervert, my jutsu was created to repel perverts," Naruto said angrily. "And now you want to see me naked?" Sasuke asked incredulously. "It's for a good cause." Naruto stopped himself when he realized that his idea might not be the right one to ask Sasuke. She was a girl, he didn't really know how to interact with girls period. He guessed that his idea was not the right one to voice out. "No way dope, I can't believe that you're actually trying to justify seeing me naked, what's wrong with you?" Her cheeks were slowly starting to burn and she was having a harder time fighting off a blush. Naruto certainly had a way with words, for all the wrong reasons. "Okay fine sheesh," Naruto pouted, "it was a good idea. Are you going to accept Jiraiya's proposal?" Sasuke got back to the subject. I don't know," Naruto said honestly. "You have to accept it. If you value this village as much as you led me to believe then you'll have to put their safety first. Frankly I say kill them all, but I already know that you won't agree." Sasuke said the last part when she saw Naruto scowl at her. "What about you?" Naruto asked. "I'm sure I can survive without you breathing down my neck," Sasuke retorted. Naruto's frown did not leave his face, but after careful consideration he relented to one thing. So, it would be better for me to accept the offer, huh?" Sasuke made a good argument on leaving Konoha. It was really hard for him to do because of the people that he cared for. He didn't want to leave anyone behind. "Yes," Sasuke agreed. "Right," Naruto said. For a while only awkward silence was prominent, but Sasuke didn't want it to last. She quickly made for the bedroom. "I'm going to take a shower," she said. Naruto was about to say something when he was cut off with a knock at the door. He went and opened it, only to see both Kakashi and Jiraiya on the other side. "Kakashi-sensei, Hiro-senin?" Naruto asked confusedly. He didn't expect them to be here so early in the morning. "Yo," Kakashi greeted with an eye smile. "When are you going to stop calling me that gaki?" Jiraiya sighed out. Yes, he was a self-proclaimed pervert, but it didn't mean Naruto had to voice it out every chance he got. "What are you guys doing here so early?" Naruto asked confusedly. "Well, I actually ran into Kakashi on the way here," Jiraiya said. "Why are you guys here?" Naruto rephrased with a frown. "Sorry Naruto, but I need your answer immediately, it can't wait I'm afraid," Jiraiya said. "And I just came to see my students, is that so wrong?" Kakashi added in. "Why do you need my answer now?" Naruto asked. "It's a serious matter Naruto and we can't waste time, you of all people know that," Jiraiya said. Naruto looked ready to argue and then stopped himself, he sighed. "Well, after thinking it over, I think it would be a good idea to go on the training trip," Naruto said calmly. Jiraiya grinned at that. "Excellent choice Gaki. I knew you'd make the right decision," Jiraiya said proudly. Kakashi looked sad, but it was only a brief moment until his happy demeanor was back. It was a huge blow to find out that he'd not be training Naruto anymore, but he understood that the situation was beyond him. He felt really guilty for not giving the boy enough attention to become a great shinobi. Most of his time was focused on grooming Sasuke. And he had never felt so much shame and regret in his actions. It was too late however, but he had to have a few parting words with his student before he left. Tsunade had informed him of the situation, so the current conversation was not surprising to him. There is another reason why I needed your answer, Jiraiya said in sudden seriousness. Naruto looked at him surprised. What's the other reason? Naruto asked hesitantly. There is a council meeting in progress as we speak. Now it is obvious that once Naruto leaves the village, then Sasuke Uchiha would be in need of a caretaker in order to continue with her probationary period. I'm sure there will be many candidates who wish to look after the Uchiha, but the final decision will be handled by me, the Hokage. Now I will need to select candidates to look after Sasuke in her period, Tsunade said seriously. She was prepared for every dirty trick the council would have against her. She needed to find someone that was capable of looking after and hopefully changing that rotten Uchiha for the better. I nominate my family to be caretakers of Sasuke Uchiha, a civilian member said immediately. Request denied, Tsunade said swiftly. We should vote for a candidate Tsunade, Koharu said with a frown. That will not be acceptable, although voting for a candidate will be protocol, I must still lay the final judgment. I will choose the right candidate, within reason, Tsunade said. Then how on earth is a candidate to be selected by the council? Homura said with a scowl, the nerve of this Hokage. You may nominate whomever you wish and give substantial reason why that person or family should be chosen, everything else is up to me, Tsunade said. And if we do not meet your demands? Koharu asked, challenging Tsunade. Sasuke rolled eye, plain and simple, she knew she was taking a risk with constantly reminding them of her power over Sasuke's life, but damn it did it feel good. Koharu grumbled under her breath. Now let us continue, shall we? Tsunade said. I nominate myself to be Sasuke Uchiha's caretaker. I will look after Sasuke until the probationary period is over. She will not be harmed nor be put in any danger. Tsunade already knew that this person in particular would pick favorites with the Uchiha. That is not what she was looking for at all. Request denied. Next, she dismissed him without pause and ignored the glare he sent her way. I nominate myself to be Sasuke's caretaker. My feelings towards her are indifferent and I will take care of her accordingly, Tsume said. Tsunade thought about it. Tsume's character was rough around the edges, but she did keep to her word. That, however, was still not good enough. I'm sorry Tsume, but your request is denied. Next, Tsunade said. The council members kept their mouths shut. Most were probably already sure that Tsunade would deny their requests, so silence was Tsunade's answer. Tsunade was starting to lose hope on a possible candidate. I nominate my family to be caretakers of Sasuke Uchiha. Everyone stared wide-eyed at the person who spoke. People couldn't believe who said those words, especially considering the fact that the very person was the lazy Shikaku Nara. Your reason, Shikaku? Tsunade asked with a raised eyebrow. Not much, in fact the only reason I can give you is that my wife knew Sasuke's mother personally, that's all, Shikaku said with a yawn. Tsunade, I think it would be much more easier for you to choose some. Koharu was cut off from her suggestion by Tsunade herself. Request approved, Tsunade said, and was met with shocked silence. Homura was the first to gather his wits. Are you serious, Tsunade? You can't base your judgment on some vague reason as familiarity between Yoshino and Makoto. A lot of people knew the Uchiha woman, Homura said critically. I have my reasons and I will stick to my judgment, Tsunade said with conviction. She was not fooled in the least. She saw something in Shikaku's eyes that no one else caught, pleading. She didn't know what it meant, why Shikaku would silently plead to be involved with the Uchiha, but the Nara clan were geniuses, and she knew they were the perfect candidates to look after the Uchiha. Thank you Hokage-sama, I shall inform my wife after the meeting, Shikaku said. He felt like a huge weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Well, since we got that out of the way, I want you to pack everything you will need and meet me at the front gate in 3 hours. Until then, Jiraiya said, then jumped out of the window once again. Why does he keep doing that? Sasuke asked as she came out of the room. I don't know, Naruto said confusedly. Hello Sasuke, how are you doing? Kakashi asked once he noticed his student. Kakashi, Sasuke acknowledged curtly. So why are you still here Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked. I wanted to talk to you about something, Kakashi said. What? Naruto asked. Naruto, I'm sorry, Kakashi said remorsefully. For what? Naruto asked confusedly. I failed you, I should have been there for you, I should have been a true sensei. He didn't want to carry on, because he realized that he would have to admit that he was worse than scum. Come on Kakashi-sensei. I know I didn't learn much from you, but you taught me the most important thing of all. Naruto said strongly. Really, what was that? Kakashi asked surprised. Teamwork, Naruto said with a grin. I don't think this conversation involves me, Sasuke said. No, I need to talk to you too, Kakashi quickly added. Sasuke looked at Kakashi weirdly. I don't approve of what you did, betraying the village and hurting Naruto, but I feel responsible for not properly supporting you as well as Team 7, we were a team, and we all should have been there for each other, especially at our worst times, I'm sorry, Kakashi said. You're apologizing, to me? Sasuke asked, truly shocked. Yes, but that does not mean I'm not disappointed in you, Kakashi said seriously. Sasuke rolled her eyes, now she knew why he was really apologizing, because he felt guilty for playing favorites. Well, I should leave you to get ready, Naruto, I'll meet you at the gate to see you off, Kakashi said. He stood up and promptly left the couple alone. So this is it, huh? You're really leaving? Even though Sasuke had predicted something along those lines, it was still a lot to take in. Naruto was really leaving Konoha for 3 years. Yeah, Naruto said absent-mindedly, it was a long-term trip, he would return at the age of 15, it seemed so daunting. I just wonder who will be my new caretaker now. Those village council members probably had some adoring stupid follower made to be her new caretaker, she shivered at the thought, if they tried to put her with crazed fans that would try to create Uchiha heirs with her, then she would promptly thrust a Chidori through their chests, the thought made her suddenly numb. She didn't want to be reminded of what she did to Naruto, her nightmares were enough for that. I don't care, and Naruto's response was cut off with another knock from the door. Arg. Who is it now? Naruto said irritably as he went and opened the door to an unexpected sight. Hello Naruto-san, said a woman with long black hair. Do I know you, lady? Do you work for the landlord? Naruto asked in curiosity and uncertainty. No, my name is Yoshino Nara, I'm Shikamaru's mother, she had to admit, Naruto didn't have any manners at all, he didn't invite her in, he didn't greet her back, but she was willing to overlook everything since she knew he grew up alone. Oh, so why are you here? Naruto asked. I'm Sasuke's new caretaker, I will be looking after her for the duration of her probation, Yoshino said. So Bachan chose you to look after Sasuke? Naruto asked incredulously. Yes, hello Sasuke, Yoshino greeted the girl indifferently. Sasuke chose not to greet back, she didn't have to, they were not friends or acquaintances. You're to pack up your things immediately, you're moving in with us, Yoshino informed. Everything was set up and now it was time for Naruto to meet Jiraiya at the gate, he approached it and was surprised to see so many people waiting for him. Well Gaki, are you all set? Jiraiya said. Yeah, I didn't expect to see you guys. Naruto said to the gathered people. Are you kidding, I won't miss this for anything. Iruka said with a smile. Most of the rookie 9 had said the same thing, while Sasuke and Neji chose to stay out of the conversations, Sasuke was only there with Yoshino to see him off, and nothing else, she refused to mingle with anyone, Sakura also chose to stay away from the Uchiha, along with everyone else, they talked to each other for a little while until Jiraiya knew that it was time to leave. Time to go Naruto, Jiraiya said. Naruto said his goodbye to everyone and then walked up to Sasuke. When I come back I'm gonna be stronger than you, Naruto said with a cocky grin. I'm only on probation for 2 years, by the time you come back I'll be a Kunoichi, you don't stand a chance, dope, Sasuke said. Well see about that, I'll see you around Sasuke and take care of her Yoshino-san, Naruto said, and then started leaving with Jiraiya. See you in 2 years you idiot, Sasuke whispered, she felt a hand on her shoulder and looked to see Yoshino staring at her seriously. I will be your caretaker for the next 2 years, and believe me, I don't take crap from anybody, you better behave yourself or face the consequences, Yoshino said evenly. Sasuke sighed, these next 2 years were surely going to be a nightmare. Konoha, the Hidden Leaf Village, a place where so many accomplished shinobi and kunoichi alike have thrived, it has produced powerful leaders, so powerful that the village was considered one of the strongest of the 5 elemental nations. It seemed like any other day for the occupants of this busy village, as the sun rose slowly and showed outlines of the many buildings. But not all was as it seemed. 2 figures were walking at a leisure pace in the direction of the village, one figure was tall, while the other was slightly shorter, they both walked with the poise and confidence of a shinobi. Can you believe that it's been 3 years already? Asked the tall figure. Meh, it kind of seemed like just yesterday to me, the shorter said in a happy tone. Well with your knack to lose track of time, I'm not really surprised to hear that, the tall figure said teasingly. Well I couldn't help it, I wasn't focused on time, the shorter figure retorted. Whatever you say, the tall figure said, it even sounded like he was grinning. I wonder how much things have changed. The shorter one asked. Only one way to find out, right? The tall one said. Yep, it's good to be back, the shorter one said as he noticed the familiar gates of Konoha. The girl woke up lazily as her internal clock set to work, she slowly got out of her bed and then looked out the window, the sun was just beginning to fully rise into the air, a tired yawn escaped her lips and she stretched her limbs in order to allow her muscles to adjust and loosen, she walked into her bathroom and started taking a shower. After she finished she quickly brushed her teeth and left the bathroom. She went to her closet and opened it. There was a different variety of clothing. She took out a grey high-collar shirt and some black tights with black shorts, along with underwear. She put on her clothing and went to her dresser, which had elbow-length fingerless gloves. She put the gloves on and searched for her footwear. She found her black shinobi sandals and put them on. She took a hairbrush from the dresser and proceeded to tend to her hair. She looked at the mirror. The years have certainly done her beauty good. She put the brush down as soon as her hair was untangled. She looked to the far end of the dresser and spotted something essential. Her hit I-8. She took the forehead protector and fastened it around her head. The leaf symbol shone proudly from the metal plate. 2 bangs from her hair framed her face. She checked herself to make sure that she was ready for the day. Sasuke-chan. Shika-kun. Breakfast. A woman's voice called from outside the room. Sasuke straightened her forehead protector and nodded to herself. Humming. She called back. She went out of her room and nearly passed another, but she quickly stopped herself. The door was wide open, and she could easily see Shikamaru asleep. She sighed and grumbled under her breath as she marched inside the lazy genius room. Shika, it's time to wake up. Sasuke said loudly and was answered with a snort. She shrugged. She tried to be nice. She kicked the Nara with just enough force to make him tumble to the floor. Arg. What the? Shikamaru looked at his sprawled position and then focused his gaze on the intruder in his room. Why did you have to do that, troublesome, Shikamaru said irritably. I tried to wake you up, but you didn't listen, Sasuke said easily. Sometimes I get the feeling that you enjoy kicking my ass while I'm asleep, Shikamaru said with narrowed eyes. To me? No, of course not, Sasuke said sarcastically and then offered Shikamaru a hand. Shikamaru took it without hesitation and then got to his feet. If you weren't so lazy then you wouldn't have to worry about me or your costs and constantly breathing down your neck, Sasuke said with a smirk as she left the room. Girls, Shikamaru muttered. Sasuke made her way to the dining room and saw Yoshino in the kitchen, putting the finishing touches to the breakfast. Good morning Yoshino-sama, Sasuke greeted with a small smile. Good morning Sasuke-chan, is it really too much for you to call me Kasan? Yoshino asked with a dramatic sigh. I called Joshin. But I want you to, Yoshino cut off with a warm smile. Well, Sasuke sputtered out uncharacteristically. It's okay dear, I want you to be comfortable with the name, come help me finish breakfast, Yoshino said as she motioned for the acha. Sure, Sasuke said in relief as she made her way into the kitchen. She started helping Yoshino with breakfast. Did you wake Shika-kun? Yoshino asked curiously. Yeah, I had to kick him though, Sasuke said. Yoshino only grinned and said he was being lazy again, wasn't he? Yep, I just don't understand why every Nara guy is like that, Sasuke said annoyedly. What can I say sweetie, it's a curse, Yoshino shrugged it off. I'm starting to see the pattern, Sasuke said with a roll of her eyes. They set up breakfast on the table and it took little time before both Shikaku and Shikamaru came to the dining table. Good morning Yoshino-chan, Sasuke, Shikaku just mumbled the words out, he was still very sleepy and he lazily made his way to his seat. Morning Ka-san, Shikamaru imitated his father. Morning Shikaku-sama, Sasuke greeted in turn. I mean honestly, you two are so lazy. Sasuke and I are the only people who pull our own weight in this place. Don't you have any decency? Yoshino started on with her rant, it wasn't an uncommon event. Troublesome, both father and son mumbled in unison. Don't even get me started on the backyard. Yoshino exhaled to calm herself and huffed, such was the life of a female Nara. They all ate the breakfast in peace, occasionally communicating among each other. Sasuke was no different, she participated in the conversations as if it was an everyday process, it most probably was. Once they were finished Shikaku left to do his duties, Sasuke and Shikamaru also made to leave, but they were stopped by Yoshino. She kissed Shikamaru's cheek, earning a disapproving grunt, and then turned her attention to the shorter girl, she kissed Sasuke's cheek as well. Be safe you two, Yoshino said lovingly. Sure Ka-san, Shikamaru said. Yes Yoshino-sama, Sasuke said with an embarrassing blush, she should have been used to this already, but it was still strange for her. They soon left the Nara home and were now walking on the streets of Konoha. So what are you going to do today? Shikamaru asked boredly. I don't know, Kakashi-sensei said he'll be training me more as usual, so I guess it's the same as always, Sasuke said with a shrug. Alright, Shikamaru yawned and was elbowed by the Uchiha. Really Shika, you're never going to get a girlfriend if you don't at least pretend to listen, Sasuke said with a smile. It's too troublesome to think about, Shikamaru said while closing his eyes. So what are you doing today? Sasuke asked curiously. Same old, getting orders from Hokage-sama, Shikamaru said offhandedly. Oh, Sasuke said awkwardly, she didn't know what else to bring up and then a thought struck her. The Jonin exams are coming soon, are you going to participate? Sasuke asked. Nah, too much work, I already have to worry about being the Chunin exams proctor, what about you? Since you're already a Chunin then you qualify to participate in the Jonin exams, the best part is the fact that you don't even need a partner, Shikamaru said. Of course I'm participating, and I think you should too Shika, stop being so lazy, Sasuke admonished. Yes Ka-san, Shikamaru said sarcastically with a roll of his eyes and was promptly met with an elbow to his ribs. I'll see you later Shika, I have to find Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke said. Good luck with that, see you later Sasuke, Shikamaru said as he left for the Hokage's office. Sasuke was walking to the familiar area to meet Kakashi, but before she could arrive she was startled by a loud shout. I am home. Sasuke looked to where the voice came from, it sounded a bit close, but she couldn't exactly see anything from her vantage point, there were just too many buildings around, she was curious however, that voice sounded eerily familiar, but she couldn't figure out where she had heard it before. She figured she could spare a few moments of her time to see what all the commotion was about, so she made her way deeper into the village, she looked around as she walked, she wanted to be able to spot anything specific. You jerk. She looked in front of her and witnessed the sight of Sakura punching someone in the face, said person fell to the ground comically, at first Sasuke was confused in Sakura's behavior, she was never the type of person to punch some random villager. Sakura. Sasuke called. Sakura looked up and saw Sasuke, she walked up to the girl with an annoyed frown plastered on her face. Hey Sasuke, Sakura greeted. Hey, what's wrong? Sasuke asked when she noticed a dark look on Sakura's face. That freaking, nothing. Sakura gritted out. Come on, Sasuke said with a frown. It's Naruto. I can't believe after all these years he's still an idiot. Sakura fumed. He thought I wasn't womanly at all. That jerk, Sakura continued. Naruto is here? Sasuke asked in shock. Stupid knucklehead Sakura acted as if Sasuke wasn't there at all. Sasuke turned her attention away from the fuming Kunoichi and looked over Sakura's shoulder, when she spotted the familiar mop of blonde hair her eyes widened dramatically. Geez Gaki, you really have a way with words, that girl really has a mean left hook on her, I wonder if she's getting lessons from Tsunade-hime, Jiraiya said with a grin. Naruto shakily got up from the ground, a red print was on his cheek courtesy of Sakura. Man, Sakura can really punch, Naruto moaned out. Can you blame her? You practically dismissed her femininity, Jiraiya snickered, it was a funny spectacle. Hey. I know how girls don't want to be called old, that's why I said she wasn't womanly at all, Naruto defended rather stupidly, well he did think that he was right. You really know nothing about woman, don't you? Jiraiya shook his head, he had tried to get Naruto to open his eyes to the opposite sex throughout the trip, but the blonde only focused on training and nothing else. Whatever you old perv. Hey, I'm a super perv. Get it right. What the hell is wrong with you? Naruto asked incredulously. I should ask you the same thing, Gaki, Jiraiya wasn't above retorting childishly, but they would need to go to the Hokage tower, he looked up and saw a girl approaching them. His jaw dropped at the sight, she was too young for him, that was certain, but she was drop-dead gorgeous, all the curves in the right places and a beautiful face, maybe she had a mother. What the hell are you looking at now Iro-senin? Naruto asked annoyedly when he noticed that Jiraiya wasn't even paying attention to him. Bah, Jiraiya said in a trance-like state. Naruto rolled his eyes, Jiraiya was probably looking at a woman. Naruto, it was said in a whisper, but Naruto was able to catch it, he turned around to see a girl staring at him with wide eyes. Did you just call my name? Naruto asked confusedly and was met with a numb nod. You got taller, Sasuke said numbly, her mind couldn't find anything else to use in her shocked state. Who are you? Naruto asked confusedly. Sasuke gaped at the blonde, he didn't remember her. What did I tell ya, he's still stupid, Sakura said when she came and stood beside Sasuke. Sakura-chan, you know this girl? Naruto asked. Sakura rolled her eyes, but she was cut off from answering. Don't tell me that you don't remember me, dope, Sasuke said with a scowl. Dope, the hell Sasuke Naruto asked, his eyes as wide as saucers. No way. That hot eye is Sasuke. Jiraiya whistled, the years had done her a world of good. But, you don't look like you used to. Naruto said with a frown. It's called puberty, you moron. Sasuke said irritably. Hey. It's not my fault that I didn't recognize you, you look so different, okay. Naruto defended. Yeah, I guess you're right, Sasuke conceded. Jiraiya watched the interaction in rapt interest, Sasuke's appearance wasn't the only difference, her attitude was more open than before, he could actually see the emotions that used to be hidden from the world in those onyx eyes, what the hell happened to Sasuke? She had seemed to have gone through a change, he didn't know to what extent, what prompted it though. What did they miss during their journey? Hey, you're wearing a hit I-8, Naruto noticed after a while. Yeah, I'm actually a chunin now, Sasuke said with a grin. Naruto was transfixed on Sasuke's teeth, he had never, ever, seen Sasuke smile like that, it threw him for a complete loop. "What about you, Sakura?" Naruto asked once he gathered himself. "I'm a Chunin too, in fact most of our group are Chunin," Sakura said with a smile. Naruto was surprised to hear that, it seemed that he was the only genin left, but he was more focused with how comfortable Sasuke and Sakura seemed around each other. "Are you guys pretty close or something? You haven't said a bad thing about each other, hell I haven't even seen you glare at one another once," Naruto said bluntly. Sasuke and Sakura looked at each other and then smiled. "Well, a lot can happen in 3 years, Naruto," Sakura said. "You don't know the half of it," Sasuke added on. "Okay, this is really weird," Naruto said. "And here I thought he would have blown his top already," Sasuke and Sakura giggled together. That's when Naruto did a double take, this was not Sasuke, it must have been an imposter, that or they brainwashed the girl. "What the hell happened to you?" Naruto blurted out. "A lot," Sasuke said simply. "Oh no you don't. I want to know everything," Naruto said sternly. "We should be getting to Tsunade right now, Naruto," Jiraiya said. "I was going there as well," Sakura said. "It'll meet you guys there, you and I are going to talk, Sasuke," Naruto said the last part to a surprised Uchiha. "Alright, but don't take too long," Jiraiya said and left with Sakura. "If you want to talk then let's go on top of that roof," Sasuke said as she pointed at the roof above them. Naruto only nodded and jumped to the roof without a hint of effort, Sasuke looked impassive, but she was really shocked with how fast he was, she jumped up and joined him at the ledge of the roof, they sat down and said nothing for a while, but Naruto wanted answers. "What happened to you, Sasuke?" The giggling and the smiles. "Did anyone harm you?" Naruto asked seriously. No, I'm fine, Naruto, I guess it feels kind of weird to see me like this, huh?" Sasuke asked. Naruto nodded his head with a frown. "Well, it's a long story, but I'll try to simplify it for that little head of yours," Sasuke teased. "You're more like a girl alright, but you're still a stupid team," Naruto said with a glare and was surprised when Sasuke laughed out loud, seeming genuinely happy, he had to admit, he liked the sound of her voice, she changed so much in his eyes, she was beautiful and a lot more open than he ever remembered, which sent red flags in his head. Well, where to start? Flashback. It had been a few months in the Nara residence, and Sasuke was quite sure she could admit that her life was indeed a nightmare, the men didn't want anything to do with her, which was fine with her, but Yoshino was a different case, Sasuke only had 2 words when she thought of Yoshino, crazy bitch, the woman was a slave driver, constantly harassing her and forcing her to clean and make meals. Yoshino was someone that Sasuke found quite intimidating, she was a woman that no one messed with, if Sasuke ever disobeyed Yoshino, which was basically most of the time, then the woman would physically harm her, whether with slaps or spankings, she showed no mercy, and Sasuke found herself, on more than one occasion, struggling not to snap and kill the Nara woman. She hated Yoshino, she hated her so much, it was as if the woman took some sick pleasure in punishing her at every turn, finding any excuse to use her as a punching bag, even though she never resulted to punching, it never went to the point where she would be significantly injured, but she still felt some pain, and that was not good. Her predicament was just so intolerable, they didn't like her and she felt the same way, why on earth was she given these people as caretakers? She shared no history with them, so why was she stuck with them? Shikamaru was very cold to her, Shikaku was just about the same, but she would rather deal with it than an irate mother. She knew Yoshino was angry at her for nearly getting her son killed, and it seemed like she found it justifiable to take out her anger on the Uchiha, such a selfish woman. Sasuke was convinced Yoshino was only there to make sure that she felt miserable for the rest of her probation. Every single day she found herself missing Naruto more and more, at first she fought off the feeling. But as time went on, and her predicament worsened, her thoughts would always stray to the blonde knucklehead, it was like her only solace, thoughts of him calmed her for some odd reason. She wondered what he was doing, where he had gone to, what he was seeing, how strong he was getting, so many different thoughts, but it was the same process every day. It had gotten so bad for her that she thought of running away, even with the full knowledge that Anbu would bring her down, living in a hostile atmosphere was slowly driving her mad. Then the dreadful day came, the anniversary of the Uchiha massacre, it was a very painful day for her that filled her with so much despair, it was tradition for her to go to the graveyard of her fallen family and pay her respects to them, that day was no different from all the other anniversaries. It had been raining particularly hard on that day, she had a horrible morning which resulted in getting screamed at by Yoshino, since she refused to do anything for the woman, in fact she didn't want to do anything period, she was sent to her room without any food, she had used the opportunity to sneak out and travel to the Uchiha compound. She didn't care that she was not allowed to enter the compound, her family laid there, and she didn't give a damn about anyone else. She was soaked to the bone, her clothes clung to her tightly due to the water, but her mind was numb and her eyes were glazed over, absent to anything else but the gravestones of her parents. Her heart clenched painfully as stared at her parents' final resting place. No matter how hard she hid it from others, it was always heartbreaking to look at the gravestones. The constant reminder of her clan's defeat always stung greatly. She just stood there as the rain continued. She stood there and stared at the stones emotionlessly. She didn't know if she was crying or if it was the rain, but she didn't care. She was well aware that she might catch a cold. It was indeed freezing, but her body refused to act out. She didn't know how long she stood there, just staring at the stones, before she felt the water suddenly stop hitting her body. She could see that it was still raining, so she was a bit confused that she wasn't feeling any of it. She looked up and noticed an umbrella over her head. When she looked at who the umbrella belonged to, she was a bit surprised to see Yoshino herself. "Hey," Sasuke's eyes widened, only a fraction, when she heard Yoshino's voice. It was so soft and spoken so affectionately that Sasuke found herself bewildered. Yoshino had never spoken to her in such a manner. She decided to ignore the woman. Today was a depressing day. She wasn't in the mood for anyone's shit, including Yoshino. "When I was in the academy I met your mother," Yoshino said as she stared at the gravestone of Mikoto. Sasuke didn't give any indication to have heard Yoshino's words. The Nara woman continued undeterred. "We became fast friends. We would talk about anything together. It was so exciting to experience the academy with a good companion. We shared so many silly adventures together," Yoshino mused with a small smile. Sasuke did not say a word and continued to look forward. "We all graduated together. It was great to be genin, but unfortunately we ended up in different teams. We did keep in contact though." She looked down and mentally sighed when she saw Sasuke looking more like a statue than anything else. "I quit being a kunoichi when I met Shikaku. I was chunin at the time. Mikoto quit at about the same time. It wasn't long before we both became pregnant with our children. I was having my first child while Mikoto was having her second. We still talk to each other, but 5 years after your birth, Mikoto and I had a falling out in our friendship." The last part was said in guilt and remorse. Her heart clenched at the memory of them fighting over something so stupid and parting as friends because of it. "I was such a horrible woman. I held on to a grudge." She tried on many occasions to rekindle our friendship, but I would have none of it because of my anger. She would apologize as if it was her fault alone, and I would feel like she was attacking my pride by trying to be the bigger woman, and I would refuse her attempts without thought. This time tears streamed down Yoshino's face. The bitter memory of her attitude towards Mikoto was still hard to swallow. 5 days before the incident she came to me, begging for our friendship and rambling on about a possible coup between the Uchiha and the Hokage. She begged me to look after her kids if she could not, if she died. I thought it was nonsense and slammed the door in her face. The memories were assaulting her in full force now, and she struggled not to sob. When I heard that the Uchiha clan was massacred, I cried so hard that I cold breath. The thought of never seeing Mikoto again, the thought of us parting in the worst way possible, completely shattered me. I was an emotional wreck, but I did my best to control my emotions and be there for my family, Yoshino said as she looked longingly at Mikoto's grave. "I failed her so badly. I didn't deserve to call myself her friend, not after everything I did. I still feel so much shame for my acts today. I loved Mikoto, and I regret my decisions to no end," Yoshino sniffed out. Sasuke looked at her impassively, her own eyes not giving anything away. "I was afraid to approach you, people pampered you, and you seemed to enjoy your solitude, so I felt conflicted in being involved in your life," Yoshino said with another sniff. Sasuke stared at her with something akin to surprise. "Not only that, but I would come here every once a year to pay my respects to Mikoto and her family. I would apologize over and over again, begging her for forgiveness. I was pretty sure she died hating me, and that hurts more than anything," Yoshino chalked out. She quickly gathered herself and continued. "I was a coward, maybe I still am, but I was just so afraid to face reality and the prospect of Mikoto never forgiving me. It was too much to bear, so I avoided you and let the village shower you with gifts and praise. When you defected from the leaf, that's when reality smacked me in the face." She could see that Sasuke was focused on her now, so she ranted on. "No matter how much people praised you, no matter how much attention you had, it didn't matter because you were still alone in the end. You weren't surrounded by people who cared about you, just followers. It may have been too late to earn Mikoto's forgiveness, but I owed it to her to look after her son. Well, you're a girl, but that doesn't matter. So when my husband told me of the possibility of you seeking new caretakers, I jumped at the chance," Yoshino said. "Don't you think it's a bit too late to take me in? I've been alone most of my life. What makes you think I need you, huh? My life was way better without you. You're just trying to selfishly diminish your own guilt. You brought it upon yourself. It's too late for making up for the past," Sasuke said with a glare. You're right, it is too late to make up for the past, but my love for Makoto will never change. You misunderstand my intention however. I am remorseful for the way I treated Makoto, but I didn't take you in because of guilt. I owe Makoto, plain and simple. She was a good friend to me, and I owe it to her to look after you. Yes, it may be too little too late. But I'm not going to give up on you no matter what. You're Makoto's child, her legacy, and I will not let you sink into darkness. I will show you that there are people who care for you, even if I have to beat it into you, Yoshino said sternly. DCH, you care? Sasuke scoffed. Oh yes Sasuke, you may not believe it now, but I do care for you greatly, maybe over time you might change your view of me, Yoshino said. At chance, you're just like everyone else, using me to make yourself feel B. Slap. Do not put me with them. I am not doing this for myself. I'm not doing this expecting something in return. I'm doing this because I want to give you a chance at redemption. I want to grow to love you, as much as Makoto did. I don't want to replace your mother. I just want to be there for you. To help you grow. I just want a chance with you Sasuke, Yoshino shouted in anger. What about me? What about what I want? You fucking bitch. You treated my mother like shit and you think you can just waltz in my life, expecting me to welcome a lowlife like you. Fuck you. You don't deserve forgiveness. You're a horrible person. Yoshino didn't have the heart to slap Sasuke as she stared in surprise at the girl. She was actually crying. Yoshino knew that it was so much for both of them to take in, and she understood that Sasuke was having an emotional breakdown. She was surprised that the usually stoic Uchiha was so distraught right in front of her. Sasuke was furious the more she thought of her mother going through so much pain because of the woman in front of her. It wasn't fair. Did every Uchiha always have to suffer so much? She hated everything. She hated everyone. She just wanted things to end. She yelped in surprise when she felt arms envelop her in a warm embrace. It was comfortable, but she was too angry to take notice. She lashed out, trying to pry herself from Yoshino's grip. Let me go. Let me go. I hate you. I hate you. Sasuke's mind had been reduced to an emotional mess driven by anger and hurt. I'm so sorry Sasuke, I'm so sorry, it's okay to cry, I'm so sorry, Yoshino consoled and held the girl tighter as she continued to struggle. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Sasuke repeated over and over again, and she continued her struggle. Yoshino kept on consoling and cooing Sasuke without pause. It didn't take long for Sasuke to bury her head in Yoshino's shoulder and bawl her eyes out. The dam had long ago broken. Yoshino kept whispering sweet nothings and allowed the girl to cry, and cry she did. I promise things will be different now, Sasuke, Yoshino whispered warmly. Eventually Sasuke removed herself from Yoshino's grip and tried very hard to wipe the evidence of her weakness, all in vain. Yoshino turned to Makoto's grave. The menace I Makoto-chan, I know I failed you as a friend, but I promised to look after your child, Yoshino said and turned her attention to the girl. She put a hand on Sasuke's shoulder and squeezed gently. Pay your respects and let's go Yoshino said softly. Sasuke looked at her emotionally and then turned to the gravestones. She closed her eyes for a brief moment and then opened them again. Yoshino knew it was time to leave. We have to get home before you get sick, Yoshino said as she led Sasuke away from the Uchiha compound. Flashback end. After that everything changed. I started to get to know Yoshino better. We had a lot of baggage, and we had made a lot of mistakes which we regret. It's what we could relate to. It connected us. Over time we got a lot closer, and she treated me well. Eventually I was welcomed among the Nara clan, Sasuke said. What's with this new attitude? Naruto asked bluntly. Well, Yoshino-sama can be a very hard woman, but her intentions are good. She made me realize that I didn't have to be alone for the rest of my life. She made me see my mistakes and helped me in fixing them. She isn't half as bad as a mother figure. It took about a year and a half, but she was finally able to get through to me, Sasuke said with a smile. So now you're nice? Naruto asked as if the very term was alien. Don't get ahead of yourself dope, it'll always be an Uchiha, and I don't take crap from anyone. It doesn't mean I can't be a tad gentler, Sasuke said. Okay, what about Sakura? Naruto asked. I talked to the rookies, over time some accepted me while others didn't. Sakura wasn't interested in me at first, but over time she gave me a chance. I don't even know why she even gave us an opportunity, but she did. We're friends right now, Sasuke said. I'm sorry, but this is a little too much to take in, Naruto said in shock. Then don't ask so many questions, Sasuke scolded. Hey. I was curious. Naruto defended. I know Naruto, I missed you. Her cheeks were burning with a blush. She felt really embarrassed for admitting her longing, but it was true. Oh, I missed you too. Naruto also blushed. He didn't expect to hear that from Sasuke of all people. Come on, we need to get to the tower, Sasuke said suddenly. Oh yeah, I forgot. Let's go, Naruto said. How about a race Genin? Sasuke challenged. Anytime, any place, Sasuke. Naruto said with a cocky grin. First person to the tower wins, Sasuke said. Deal, Naruto said. On the count of 3, 1 Sasuke started. 2 Naruto added. 3. They said in unison. Sasuke raced across the rooftops, it seemed like she had the lead, she felt like laughing, after so long Naruto was still weaker than her, it was ridiculous, he had more time for training than she did, well he had 3 years to get stronger, she only had 1, which was after her probation, and she quickly went on to be Chunin in record time, she looked behind her and saw no sign of the dope. That was odd. Dude, is that the best you can do? Naruto said beside her, he didn't even look like he was putting any effort into his run, he almost looked like he was just gliding on the rooftops. I'd like to see you do better. Sasuke snapped irritably. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders and in a blink of an eye, he was gone. Sasuke blinked and was shocked to the core, just how strong was Naruto now? She knew that he was never that fast before, she looked around and could see absolutely no trace of him, she continued her journey to the Hokage tower at a much faster pace. She made it to the tower and entered the office to see the gathered occupants, Naruto being one of them. How? Sasuke asked in shock. Naruto just grinned at her and then focused on the Hokage. Hello Sasuke, Tsunade greeted. Good morning Hokage-sama, Sasuke quickly bowed and then looked at Naruto again. Don't look now Gaki, but I think someone's ogling you, Jiraiya whispered in the blonde's ear, loud enough for everyone to hear. Sasuke quickly looked straight ahead of herself with a small pink tint on each of her cheeks, damn that pervert. She was not ogling. Sakura looked confused while Tsunade just sighed. Who? Naruto asked confusedly. Nah, forget about it, Jiraiya dismissed with a knowing grin. Okay. Naruto said confusedly, Iro Sennin really was a weird man sometimes. I'm actually glad you're here Sasuke, Tsunade said. Why? Sasuke asked. Naruto had just come back from a 3-year training mission, it would be just that his abilities be tested, Tsunade said. You want me to fight him? Sasuke asked incredulously. No, I want to analyze all 3 of your abilities, you have been trained by Kakashi while I've trained Sakura, I want to see how far you have come, all of you, Tsunade said. Oh, I see, Sasuke said. And I know the perfect person to test you, Tsunade said. Who might that be Bachan? Naruto asked. Tsunade's brow twitched, but a rant was cut short with another voice. It's been a while, right Naruto? Someone said from outside the tower's window. Naruto went to the window, along with Sasuke and Sakura. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said excitedly. Yo, Kakashi said with an eye smile. In an unidentified location, 2 figures were conversing. To think that it's been 3 years already, one figure mused. Yes, and I have to admit, my patience has run out, the other one said. If only the retrieval mission was a success, then you would have had the perfect potential host Orochimaru-sama, the one figure said. It was unfortunate Kabuto-kun, but all hope isn't lost, Orochimaru said. Oh? Are you going to try and take her from Konoha again, Kabuto asked. Yes, I am very interested in seeing her female form, if the spies are correct, it would be good to strike now, well Konoha's guard is at its weakest, Orochimaru said with a lick of his lips. Are going to send them? Kabuto asked curiously. Of course Kabuto-kun, I know they'll get the job done and bring Sasuke to me, for some strange reason I have not been able to properly connect with her using the seal, Orochimaru said. All the more reason to bring her here, Kabuto said with a wicked smile. Fukakuku, exactly my dear Kabuto-kun, Orochimaru said, he had waited patiently for the perfect opportunity to try and obtain the Uchiha again, now seemed very much an opportune moment, he will have the perfect host. My you've grown a lot, Naruto, you're even taller than Sakura and Sasuke, Kakashi observed, he was a bit surprised in Naruto's appearance, the boy was almost a spitting image of his former sensei, he briefly noted that Naruto's style for wear had not changed drastically, he still wore orange after all, but at least he added black into the outfit. The kid had grown and was slowly becoming a handsome young man, Kakashi was sure if the village didn't dislike him, then Naruto would have had his own fan club, in fact if the secret of his father's true identity got out, then this village would see what a grave mistake they made in the way they treated the blonde. When Naruto left Kakashi was treated to 2 years of self-loathing, he had failed Naruto so much, what made it worse was the fact that he realized his mistakes too late, his neglect was unforgivable, he knew that, so he had secluded himself into taking solo missions and focusing on nothing else, when Sasuke's probation was over the council immediately ordered him to train the Uchiha. He shocked them all by refusing to train such a traitor at first, almost resulting in his immediate termination as a shinobi, but he was saved by Tsunade herself, she did her best for him, but in the end she was left powerless in the Uchiha sensei, and he was forced to train Sasuke yet again, Tsunade grudgingly conceded and had no choice but to force the rule as well, due to overall votes. So he was stuck training Sasuke again. In the first month he taught her virtually nothing, but as time continued and he started to see a different side of Sasuke, he found himself giving a little effort. Originally he would train her in the same trivial styles of jutsu and strategy, but the change in Sasuke's attitude spurred him to train her harder. At first he wasn't quite sure what to make of it, but once he actually had a conversation with the girl he understood. She was plagued with regret and guilt. He was truly shocked to hear that the cause of her emotions was mostly Naruto himself. He did his best to act indifferent to it all. She didn't want to leave the village anymore, opting to stay and become stronger to protect the one she cared for and still destroy her brother in the process. He didn't even need to hear anything from her to know that her thoughts were on Naruto when she had said the former. She was a lot more tolerant to be around, and she actually treated him with a sort of respect that he had never seen before. She was still Sasuke, somewhat cocky and full of herself at times, but she wasn't as cold and condescending as before. She even started seeking Sakura a few times, which resulted in failure at first, but over time they patched up their friendship. He heard that she even talked to the rookies and tried to apologize for what she put them through, try being the prominent word, since some were still very angry at her. He was so shocked at the complete 180 in attitude that he sought Ishino, Sasuke's caretaker. After she explained her experience with Sasuke, that's when Kakashi understood how Sasuke had changed. He didn't even question if it was a front at all. Sasuke would never resort to petty antics such as lying. She was in a Uchiha. So for the next year he started training her in anything that he knew could help. He was actually afraid that when Naruto returned, he would be furious at him for training the Uchiha again. It wasn't favoritism anymore. He was training her so she could be in league with Naruto and they could fight on the same level, together. He wasn't sure if Sasuke had developed a definite crush. But all the signs seemed to be pointing that way. She used Naruto image as motivation to become stronger. She would randomly start talking about him until she realized what she was doing. Kakashi knew Sasuke wasn't like any other girl. She was more serious, but even a serious attitude could never stop you from crushing on someone. He dared not voice out those thoughts. He was pretty relieved, however, when Tsunade told Naruto that he was training Sasuke and the blonde just took it in stride, showing maturity that surprised the copy ninja. Haha yeah. I used to be the shortest one. Naruto said with a sheepish grin. Yeah, the good old days, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Don't get full of yourself dope, height isn't everything, Sasuke said with a frown. Okay, she was a little irritated that he was taller than her, but not at a great length. Ha. You're just jealous because you used to be the taller one, Sasuke, Naruto grinned. Sasuke grumbled curses under her breath. Hey. You're still reading those books? Naruto asked Kakashi when he noticed that all too familiar book. Believe me Naruto, we tried getting him to quite that stupid thing, Sakura said with a roll of her eyes. Even threatening to castrate him, but you know how Kakashi is, Sasuke added with a sigh. Well I got something for ya, Naruto said mischievously. And what might that be? Kakashi asked with a hint of worry. Naruto rummaged through his pocket and pulled out a book of his own. The new Icha hasn't even been out yet. Naruto boasted. He could suddenly feel two pairs of eyes boring into the back of his head. Kakashi's eyes twinkled like a Christmas tree. Can I touch it? Kakashi asked hesitantly, as if the very thought was taboo. You can have it, it wasn't that interesting, Naruto said offhandedly and tossed the book into Kakashi's clutches. You, read that book, Naruto turned around and saw two females glaring at him with killer intent. Don't hurt me. Naruto said meekly to the advancing girls. Tsunade coughed to get everyone's attention back on her. She really wanted to punch Jiraiya for exposing Naruto to that rubbish, said man was just grinning like an idiot. You will have your time to mingle later, Kakashi get in here, Tsunade ordered, and mentally rolled her eyes when she saw Kakashi in a trance. My precious, Kakashi said possessively, running his fingers delicately over the hardcover, and then he let out a perverted giggle as he made his way into the office. Now, Kakashi will be your testing sensei. I felt that he was the perfect candidate to test all your abilities due to the fact that he was your sensei before, well except Sasuke, Tsunade said. So when do we start? Naruto asked curiously. In 3 hours at training ground 17, Kakashi said in sudden seriousness and then promptly started skimming through the contents of his book, making perverted giggles on occasion. He pointedly ignored the killer intent that was aimed at him. You heard him, so relax and enjoy yourselves until then, you are dismissed, Tsunade said. Before Naruto could do anything his arms were suddenly grabbed by Sasuke and Sakura respectively. Naruto started sweating bullets with the looks the girls were giving him. Relax idiot, although it would be just to pummel you for reading that book. Well just settle for giving you a boring tour of Konoha, Sakura finished. Naruto looked at them weirdly, were they serious? Oh yes Naruto-kun, we're serious, Sasuke said teasingly. Here he was, with two girls holding each of his arms while they gave, what he had to admit, the most boring tour imaginable. They were doing this on purpose, and he couldn't refuse or risk getting pummeled. Sakura's super strength was nothing to laugh at. It was pretty strange for him, he was getting looks from villagers, not of malice, but surprise. He wondered what shocked them so much, was it the fact that the village pariah had returned? No, because then they would be malice in their stares, so what the hell was wrong with these people? They were murmuring among each other, but thanks to his sensitive ears he was able to hear everything, word for word, and he was shocked to the core. Sasuke-sama is holding a boy. Is that her boyfriend? She has never touched anyone like that before. So she does have a boyfriend. Crap, now what am I going to tell my son? Sasuke-sama has a boyfriend. What about Tsunade's apprentice? That guy sure is lucky. The more he heard, the wider his eyes got. They didn't seem to remember him yet, but what was more shocking was the fact that they thought he was Sasuke's and Sakura's boyfriend. He looked down at Sasuke, she seemed oblivious to it all, constantly pointing at places that he already knew. So was Sakura, he didn't know what to do, so he just stuck with instinct. Can you let go of me now? He blurted out. Sasuke and Sakura looked at him oddly. Why, so you can run away? Fat chance dope, Sasuke said indifferently as she tugged his arm forward. You are going to go through this whole tour for your punishment, Naruto, Sakura said with a frown. No, it's not that, it's just, Naruto looked around nervously, some people were giving him thumbs up and fist pumps. Just what? Sasuke asked curiously. Naruto was getting even more nervous the more he analyzed the situation. From what he could tell, the village still liked Sasuke, so if they found out that she was hanging out with the demon brat, then they might grow to hate her, as well as Sakura. He decided to kick it into high gear. Okay fine, if you are going to give me a tour, then let's make this quick. Naruto said determinedly and started dragging Sasuke and Sakura at a fast pace. Hey. Sakura and Sasuke protested in unison. How did the training mission go exactly? Tsunade asked Jiraiya in her office. A few bumps here and there, but overall, it was a success in my view, Jiraiya said with a shrug. So how strong is he now? Tsunade asked. Tsunade-hime, you'll just have to see for yourself, Jiraiya said with a grin. Why won't you just tell me? Tsunade asked with a frown. Well I will, for a small fee, Jiraiya said with a perverted leer at Tsunade's large mounds, and was met with a super punch to the face. I think I'll see it for myself, Tsunade huffed. Right, that would be a good idea, Jiraiya groaned out from the wall he crashed into. Naruto made it to his apartment in record time, he just had to avoid the villagers before it was too late. What the hell? Why did you have to drag us all the way here when we could have walked? Sasuke huffed. I just wanted to see my home, Naruto said softly. It was half true of course, but he still wanted to know what had become of his place. Sasuke and Sakura were both silent. Naruto knew that Sasuke had moved out of this place when she gained new caretakers, and once her probation period was up, she would not even want to set foot near his shoddy apartment. The villagers knew where he lived, but they would only attack him on specific days in the past. With the knowledge that he had left, Naruto could only expect that his apartment was ruined beyond recognition. He slowly put his hand on the doorknob and twisted. He opened the door and gaped in shock. The place was absolutely clean and spotless. He could see that most of the things inside were new, from the furniture to the deco. He could see a plasma screen TV in the middle of the living room. The more he looked around, the more he realized that the place also seemed much bigger than he remembered. Judging by the look on your face, I can see that you like it, Sasuke said as she walked inside the apartment with Sakura in tow. The first time I saw this place I had a similar reaction, Naruto, Sakura said. How did this happen? Naruto asked in surprise. I had it renovated, one of the many perks of being an Uchiha, Sasuke said simply. Why? You don't live here anymore, Naruto said incredulously. Well, yes and no, Sasuke said after thinking it over. What do you mean by that? Was she confusing him on purpose? I do generally live with the Nara family, but when I want to be alone or feel like I want to be somewhere else, I just come here, the Uchiha compound, Sasuke shrugged. Naruto looked around again, he just couldn't get it out of his mind, this place looked absolutely amazing. So now that I'm here again, are going to take all this stuff with you and bring back my old things? Naruto asked curiously. Why would I do that? Sasuke asked confusedly. Well, it's your stuff, Naruto said with a shrug of his shoulder. Sasuke sighed, now she understood what the real issue was. This is your place, Naruto, I just wanted to make it better for me and for you, she said the last part softly, but Naruto still heard it. You did this for me? Naruto asked in disbelief. Yeah, I guess, Sasuke said. For a moment all Naruto did was stare at Sasuke emotionlessly, and the girl honestly thought that she offended him somehow, but then his mouth stretched into a full-blown grin. Awesome. I got big place. A cool TV. New sofas. Naruto stopped his rambling and looked at Sasuke. The Uchiha never saw it coming as Naruto enveloped her in a hug. Thanks a lot. Naruto soon realized what he had done and quickly pulled away from Sasuke. Both chose to look anywhere but the other. Cough, thanks, Naruto said awkwardly. Sure, Sasuke said softly while averting her eyes. Sakura was looking at the interaction with bug eyes. Sasuke was blushing. She quickly rubbed her eyes to make sure that she wasn't seeing something fabricated, and sure enough the blush was still there. She really wanted to laugh. She had never seen Sasuke this embarrassed before. Hell, not even when Naruto kissed her in the academy. Sakura mentally giggled at the teasing material that Sasuke had involuntarily given her. We should get going and allow you time to relax, dope, Sasuke said when she was finally able to gather herself. She started walking to the door. She's right, Naruto, we'll see you at the training field, Sakura chirped with a wave. Bye girls, Naruto said. The door closed and he was left alone. He just couldn't believe it, this place looked so nice and Sasuke just gave it up for him. Yes, he knew it was his originally, but everything in this place wasn't. How much had she changed? Well, her attitude is mostly the same, which was true. She still got on his nerves and she still acted like she was better, but not as strongly as before. 3 hours had passed relatively quickly and Naruto found himself, along with Sasuke and Sakura, at training ground 17, waiting for the copy nin's arrival. I'd think that he would have changed his ways after 2 years, but he's still late. Sakura said annoyedly. Honestly, she expected better from Kakashi. He's probably reading that stupid perverted book. Sasuke said as she glared at Naruto. What? Naruto asked innocently. Hey guys, Kakashi said as he made his way to the training ground. You're late. Sakura yelled irritably. Well, I got lost on the road of life, we know, doesn't ever come up with anything new. Naruto asked annoyedly to his comrades, pointedly ignoring Kakashi. Kakashi's brow twitched, but he decided to let it go and focus on the tasks at hand. Well, since we're all here we might as well start, Kakashi said as he walked to the middle of the field. Remember the bell test? Kakashi asked once he got into the middle of the field. Yeah, what about it? Naruto asked curiously. Kakashi took out 3 bells and displayed them to his students. Don't tell me we have to do that teamwork test again, Sakura groaned. Well, not exactly, the objective of this test isn't to utilize teamwork alone, you will need to physically take these plays from me in order to pass, Kakashi said. Wait, so what you're trying to say is that we have to really take the bells this time? Sasuke asked. Yes, and like last time, you need to come with the intent to kill, Kakashi said seriously. All the students looked at each other and then at Kakashi again determinedly. Kakashi saw them exchange some sort of message, but he couldn't be sure what it meant. I want to see how much all of you have grown, how much you have improved from the genin that you used to be, Kakashi said. Technically Naruto's still a genin, Sasuke teased, earning a glare from the blonde and a giggle from Sakura. Well true, but I'm not leaving anything to chance, Kakashi said and then removed the headband from his left eye, showing the blazing Sharingan eye. The former Team 7 were alert the moment they saw Kakashi uncover his left eye, so their sensei was serious this time. 3 bells, each for 1, you need to take 1 bell to pass, so, let us begin, Kakashi said seriously and suddenly jumped back. He landed near a pond and immediately set to work, making hand seals at an untraceable rate. Is moving too fast, I can't detect what jutsu he's performing, Sakura said nervously, she was really shocked with the speed of Kakashi's hand movements. It's too late to scan it with my Sharingan since his already started, Sasuke said with frown. They were all alert, ready to strike at any given opportunity. Kakashi stopped suddenly and then looked at his opponents, Suiton. Suryuiden no jutsu, Kakashi murmured and just as suddenly a huge water dragon shot from the pond and headed straight for the group. The impact was devastating to a large part of land, but the rookies were able to dodge in time and were now using the trees to conceal themselves. We need to figure out a plan, Kakashi isn't playing around this time, Sakura whispered. Wanna bet, Sasuke said and pointed to Kakashi, who was reading his new Icha book. The group sweat dropped at his antics. I've got an idea, but I need you guys to trust me, Naruto said. What's the idea? Sasuke asked. Just trust me, when I give the signal then I want you and Sakura to strike, Naruto said. What would you be doing? Sakura asked. Taking on Kakashi of course, Naruto said as he jumped out of the trees. Naruto wait. Sakura whispered fiercely but was stopped from speaking further by Sasuke. Just let it go Sakura, at least this way we can see how much the dope has improved, Sasuke whispered. That made Sakura pause, she too was interested in seeing how far Naruto had progressed and it seemed like a great opportunity. Well I have to admit, you were just the person I was expecting to attack first, Kakashi said while skimming through his book. Well I figured it would be better attacking you head on, Naruto said with a grin. Still attacking head on? Disappointed Naruto, I thought all those years away from Konoha would have taught you strategy. Kakashi shook his head, it seemed like not much had changed of Naruto's character, he was losing hope in the boy already. Why not? Naruto shrugged, especially when you know what to do, then Naruto suddenly disappeared. Kakashi had half a second to block the punch before it hit his face, he was shocked, one moment Naruto was a few yards away, the next he was right in front of him, he quickly jumped back and put his book away. You've gotten faster, Kakashi observed. Naruto smirked then charged at Kakashi with fists ready. Kakashi sighed and was prepared to block the obvious punches, but was shocked when Naruto started punching and kicking with precise and direct attacks. Kakashi had to put a lot of effort into blocking Naruto's attack and in trying to attack the boy in return, but the blonde would just swat away his attacks like they were flies. Kakashi was startled, Naruto knew Taijutsu. The second he lost focus he was met with a punch to the face which sent him back a few feet, Naruto still kept his assault, and Kakashi had to really focus to keep up with the blonde, it went back and forth between them, trading blows and blocking in succession, Naruto jumped a few feet back to avoid a kick that was aimed at his ribs. Kakashi knew he still had the advantage and was slightly faster, but Naruto's speed and precision was truly staggering. So you were taught Taijutsu, it was not a question, it was a definite statement. Yep, I still need to work on it though, Kakashi felt like laughing at that, Naruto still needed to work on his Taijutsu. He was almost as fast as Guy. Kakashi knew at that moment he couldn't underestimate Naruto or risk getting seriously injured. Then let's continue, shall we? Kakashi said, and in a blink of an eye they were at it again. Sasuke and Sakura could only look on in shock. So fast, Sakura said in disbelief. Yeah, I didn't know how fast he had gotten until now, Sasuke replied. Wait, I've seen this before. Sakura asked confusedly. Yeah, Sasuke said numbly. What happened to him? Sakura asked with a frown as she watched the battle rage on. Sasuke was wondering the same thing, his speed was incredible, she could see dust gathering at their feet as the two men continued their Taijutsu battle, was that really Naruto at all? Kakashi jumped back to avoid a punch that would have certainly hurt like a bitch, no doubt about it, Jiraiya was an amazing sensei to increase Naruto's speed so greatly, he could see that Naruto was slowly starting to lose momentum, most probably from prolonged use of such speed, which was understandable, but Kakashi was already beyond impressed. Your Taijutsu is very good Naruto, I wonder what else have you learned, he was really interested now, Naruto had improved greatly in his fighting ability, and Kakashi wanted to see more. A lot actually, Naruto shrugged. Alright then, let's focus on ninjutsu, he quickly made the necessary hand seals, ram, horse, bird, Mizu no Tatsumaki. The water vortex was created around Kakashi and he quickly shot the water at the genin, he expected Naruto to try and dodge it, but was shocked when Naruto started making seals of his own. Gyutin. Kami Arashi. Naruto called and a vortex of wind suddenly shot at Kakashi's attack. Kakashi expected his attack to blast through Naruto's, but was surprised again when Naruto's attack redirected his away from the blonde and shot it to nearby trees. Where did you learn such an advanced jutsu? Kakashi asked. Where do you think? Naruto countered with a grin. Kakashi's face turned to that of grim determination and he jumped into the air and started to create hand seals once again, snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger, Kakashi looked at Naruto directly, Kaiten. Kakaku no jutsu. Kakashi inhaled as much air as possible and then shot a large fireball at the blonde. Naruto shot to the air, in the path of the fireball, he cocked his hand back, Fuiten. Senpuken. Wind quickly gathered around his fist and he used it to punch straight through the fireball and nearly took down Kakashi in the process, but the copy nin dodged in time, unfortunately for Kakashi, he had lost his balance when he dodged Naruto's attack. Sasuke. Sakura. Now. Naruto shouted. The moment Kakashi was near the ground he heard something alarming. Kaiten. Karyuenden. A stream of fire shot from the trees and headed for Kakashi at incredible speeds, Kakashi stretched his hand to touch the ground and used the momentum to make a backflip, once he got his footing back he quickly made some hand seals, Suiten. Sujin Heki. The wall of water quickly covered him and blocked the stream of fire successfully, Kakashi had to admit, he was overwhelmed with the attacks from his students, his thoughts were cut off when a super punch disrupted his jutsu and he had to quickly jump back to avoid Sakura's earth-shattering fist. Kakashi quickly gathered his wits and looked at his three students in awe. You have improved greatly, all of you, I'm sure if I had made a mistake in your combined assault then I would be in the hospital by now, Kakashi praised. You haven't seen anything yet sensei, all you've seen is some of Naruto's capabilities, Sasuke said seriously. Just right Kakashi sensei, we're not the same genin that could even get ourselves together when we did this test the first time, Sakura added. That's right. Naruto chirped. Kakashi was surrounded and he took that time to look at his students. He could see how different they were from before and he couldn't help but be proud. You have all definitely changed in your skills, words can't describe how proud I am of all of you, you are becoming great shinobi, and it was an honor that I had the privilege to be your sensei, Kakashi said honestly. All of them smiled when they heard Kakashi's praise. And this proves that I can't possibly go easy on any of you, you have all earned my respect and full attention, Kakashi said seriously, then started making hand seals yet again, Raiten Kage Bunshin. Lightning started to surround Kakashi, and just as suddenly two clones were formed at either side of the original. Each clone has a bell, your task is to get it from every individual clone at all costs, this is potentially a one-on-one scenario, Kakashi said seriously. Fine with me, Sasuke shrugged. Me too, Sakura said nonchalantly. You're on Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said with a grin. Alright then, Kakashi's clones created a large distance from each other, go. Kakashi shouted. Sakura immediately went for a clone, Sasuke followed suit with her own clone, all that were left was Naruto and Kakashi. So you're the real one, Naruto said. Meh, how did you know? Kakashi asked. Lucky guess, Naruto said. So this is round 2, right? Kakashi asked with an eye smile. You got that right, Naruto said seriously. Only this time I'm significantly weaker because of my clones, but I'm sure I can handle it, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Well you are a jonin, so I can't hold anything back no matter what, Naruto said and then charged at Kakashi. So Sasuke, I've trained you for a full year. Do you think you have an edge at all over me? Kakashi asked. Sasuke laughed. Did I make a joke? Kakashi asked confusedly. You might as well have, you may have trained me sometimes, but I still had time for myself, and boy did I put it to good use sensei, Sasuke said with a smirk. Then show me, Kakashi said as he took a fighting stance. With pleasure she made quick hand signs Kaiten Ninpo. Hibashiri. Jets of fire shot from Sasuke towards Kakashi, Kakashi dodged it and thought it was over, but he was surprised when the fire followed him and created a ring over his head. That's not supposed to happen, Kakashi muttered in shock as he stared at the sky. Kakashi-sensei, don't take your eyes off your opponent. Sasuke said as she charged at her sensei and tried to strike him with her fists. Kakashi had to dodge the fists while still focusing on the rings above, Sasuke had long ago stopped the hand seals, but the ring of fire was still over his head. How are you going to get the bell if all you do is punch, Sakura? Kakashi asked as he dodged another devastating fist from his student. Just watch me Kakashi-sensei. Sakura screamed as she continued her attack, she didn't have much jutsu, but that didn't mean she knew nothing, she punched the ground and watched Kakashi jump into the air, she focused her chakra on her feet and shot, at surprising speed, from the ground and straight at the ninja, Kakashi barely dodged the fist in time as he descended to the ground. Naruto was overwhelming Kakashi with his jutsu, Kakashi was shocked that he learned so many, it was as if he wasn't fighting Naruto at all, he was slowly starting to realize that there was a possibility that Naruto could actually beat him in his weakened state. Kurikage no Jutsu. Kakashi needed a definite edge over Naruto right now, so creating a mist to cover him was the only tactic that would give him time to think of a possible strategy against the surprising powerhouse, he silently thanked Zabuza for the jutsu. He took deep breaths to calm himself down, he was actually getting tired of fighting his students, literally, he had covered the entire field in a mist, he could see everything, but his opponent's cold, he was shocked, it seemed like routine now, when he saw Naruto charging straight at him with a clone, on his hand was a ball of spiraling chakra. Rasengan. A loud explosion was created and Kakashi had been a split second away from being struck by such a powerful technique, he had jumped back just in time to watch Naruto tear the ground apart. That was close, Kakashi said in relief, but his relief was cut short when he couldn't hear a sound, mainly the bell that he had, he quickly felt the side of his hip and realized, to his dismay, that the bell wasn't there anymore. Oh Kakashi-sensei, Naruto sing-songed as he held the bell for the copy nin to see, even with the mist surrounding them, Kakashi could clearly see Naruto holding the bell and looking straight at him, as if the mist didn't exist. He had to make things difficult, didn't he? Sasuke muttered under her breath as she looked around the fog, she could hardly see a thing, she closed her eyes and concentrated, she had been practicing this ability for months, it had a short range, but she hoped it would be good enough. She took in a huge amount of air and then exhales dramatically, her body started creating steam that countered the fog for only a few feet, which was all she needed to spot the surprised Kakashi. She threw shuriken at the clone and watched as he dodged. Now! She screamed and the ring of fire shot to Kakashi. Kakashi started dodging the ring of fire, forgetting about Sasuke, and the Uchiha used that opportunity to create a lightning blade. Kakashi saw the fire dissipate and gave a sigh of relief, but it was short-lived as he realized, too late, that he forgot about Sasuke. Chidori. Sasuke screamed and attacked the side of the clone. She wasn't sure if it was a clone or the real Kakashi, so she settled for not killing the man. She was glad, however, when she saw him flash with lightning then disappear and saw the bell fall to the ground. She got it. Sakura was struggling to determine the perfect place of Kakashi's position in the fog. She knew he was close and could attack at any time. She suddenly got an idea. She hit the ground below her and created a shock wave that forced the clone to jump into the air. "Got you?" Sakura said as she aimed a fist at the descending figure. Kakashi's clone quickly made some hand seals, Raiden. Raiken. The lightning hound was created and Kakashi used that hound to target Sakura. Sakura quickly changed tactics and dodged the hound which unexpectedly exploded on impact with the ground. The clone looked like it was suffering from overuse of chakra and Sakura attacked again. She made sure to take a hit when Kakashi punched her and feigned falling to the ground, only to use Kawarimi and appear behind the clone. The substitution. The clone said in surprise and was met with a powerful fist to the back of the head, which sent it flying and crashing into a tree, flashing and disappearing on impact, damaging the tree in the process. Sakura looked down and picked the bell that fell off the clone. "I did it." Sakura squealed with a victory sign. The mist disappeared shortly after their victory. "Well done everyone, you all pass," Kakashi said proudly. Gosh, he was so tired. "Oh yeah?" Naruto screamed to the heavens. "How did you see me through the mist, Naruto?" Kakashi asked curiously. "Nose and ears, they're sensitive," Naruto said with a smile. Kakashi smiled. He was completely wrong about Naruto, about all of them. They had truly become capable shinobi in his eyes. His musings were cut short with the sound of clapping hands. Jiraiya, Tsunade and Shizune came out of their hiding place. "Well done everyone, you were very impressive," Tsunade praised as she continued to clap her hands. "Woohoo. Yeah. That's my gaki." Jiraiya cheered. "You were here the whole time, Bachan. Why can't you ever learn respect, you damn brat? Anyway, I'm proud to say that not only did you all pass, but you will be in the same team again," Tsunade said. "You mean?" "Yes, I'm proud to welcome back Team 7. 3 figures shot through a forest at breaking speeds. We'll be arriving in Konoha in 1 day," said a female voice. "We already know the Karen. Let's just hope this will be quick and painless," said a male figure. "Speak for yourself, I won't mind killing someone," said another male. The desert was very hot as 2 figures walked along the sand. "Just look at this place, isn't it beautiful?" said a male voice. "I hardly think that the desert holds any beauty to it," said a gruff voice. One, lighten up, we're going to be walking for a while," the first one said. "You know I'm not the type person for patience, Deidara," the gruff voice said. "So sorry my man, you really have a lot of issues to not take in the significance of art, especially when it's right in front of you," Deidara said. Thanks for watching, see you next video.